10 years. That's how long it had been since I'd last seen Isabelle read. In that time, she'd become a titan of industry, a celebrated entrepreneur whose face graced magazine covers and whose name was whispered with reverence in boardrooms across the country. Me? I was driving for Uber, trying to make rent. The reunion happened on a Tuesday night. I got the ping, and the name on the order was hers. There she was, the center of a glittering universe of friends and admirers outside the Apex Club, the city's most exclusive hotspot. She looked at me, her eyes sweeping over my cheap Uber-branded windbreaker, a smirk playing on her perfectly painted lips. Well, she said, her voice dripping with amusement. When my family's company went under, you were the first one to jump ship. Don't tell me after all this time, you couldn't even manage to land a sugar mama. I didn't say a word. I just stood there, my silence a shield. Months later, when I was lying in a hospital bed, staring at a piece of paper that was essentially my death sentence, she would be the one clutching my frail body, her tears soaking through my gown. I've always loved you, she'd sob. Don't you dare leave me. But that was later. For now, our reunion was a fresh wound. I was in my beat-up sedan, shoving the last of a stale granola bar in my mouth when I got the ride request. I had been fighting for it, my fingers jabbing at my phone screen like a woodpecker on speed, trying to beat out the other drivers. A pickup at the Apex Club? That was the jackpot. The clientele was rich, the tips were generous, and one good fare could cover my groceries for a week. But when I pulled my sputtering 10-year-old Civic up to the curb and saw the crowd gathered around a gleaming black Porsche, a wave of regret washed over me. Because there, in the middle of it all, was Isabelle, the woman I'd abandoned for money. 10 years ago, her family's empire had crumbled overnight. In the chaos, I'd taken the last $50,000 they had and walked away, leaving her screaming my name in the wreckage of her life. My hand tightened on the steering wheel. I could still see her face, streaked with tears. My first instinct was to cancel the ride, to peel out and disappear back into the anonymity of the city. But then I remembered the potential tip, glowing like a beacon in the app. My mom needed that money. What was my pride worth next to that? I sighed, pulled a disposable mask over my face, and got out of the car. As I approached, I realized the people fawning over Isabelle were our old college classmates. A ghost of a memory surfaced. Tonight was the annual alumni reunion. I'd never been to one. For one, I didn't have the time to waste on nostalgia. For another, I couldn't bear the thought of seeing her. They'd stopped sending me invites years ago. I just never imagined they'd hold it at a place like the Apex Club. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Good thing I'd skipped it. A bottle of water here probably cost more than my weekly earnings. The air was thick with flattery. Isabelle, I hear you're the new queen of Seacrest City's business scene. One of them gushed. You were a genius back in school, but this is a whole other level. No kidding, another chimed in. Your company is exploding. Any chance you could throw a little business our way, for old time's sake? They buzzed around her like flies, each one hoping for a scrap of her success. I had to stop myself from scoffing out loud. These same people had treated her like a pariah when her family lost everything. They'd watched her fall with morbid curiosity. Some had even pretended to offer help, tricking her into dead-end temp jobs where they could mock her behind her back. Now, there were old classmates again. Hypocrites. So, Izzy, are you married? Someone asked a little too loudly. You and Leo Vance were the power couple back then. Such a shame what happened. The woman next to her shot her a sharp elbow to the ribs. Leo Vance. Another voice cut in, dripping with contempt. It was Kevin Miller, his face twisted in disgust. I should have known. Back in school, he was the biggest social climber in our class. And from the looks of it, he'd latched himself firmly to Isabelle's rising star. Everyone knows he dumped Izzy for cash the second things got tough. I bet he's kicking himself every single day. Exactly, someone else agreed. A guy like that could never deserve our Isabelle. I couldn't help it. My eyes found hers. Did she still hate me? Lost in thought, I just stared. 10 years hadn't dimmed her beauty. They'd sharpened it. Her dark hair fell in soft waves around her shoulders. Her eyes were as clear as ever, and her lips were a bold, unapologetic red. She had the fierce beauty of a woman who had fought for everything she had. She was exactly as I'd pictured she would become, a raw diamond polished into a brilliant, dazzling gem. And me? We were worlds apart. I sighed, pushing my tangled hair out of my eyes, and spoke in a low, muffled voice. Rideshare for Isabelle. I kept my head down, trying to keep my face hidden in the shadows. Ah, the driver's here, Kevin said, his face splitting into a greasy, obsequious grin. He turned to Isabelle. You get home safe, Ms. Reed. Then he swiveled back to me, his expression hardening. You make sure, Ms. Reed gets home without a scratch. Understand? Or you'll regret it. I just grunted in response. I could feel Isabelle's eyes on me, a heavy, analytical gaze, but I didn't have the courage to meet it. It was clear she hadn't recognized me. I let out a silent sigh of relief. Just then, a sleek Tesla pulled up, and a man in a tailored suit stepped out. My blood ran cold. It was my half-brother, Ethan Vance. What was he doing here? Before I could process the shock, he walked straight to Isabelle and took her hand, his touch possessive and familiar. "Isabelle, darling, I'm here to take you home." His eyes fell on my Uber jacket, and he wrinkled his nose in distaste. "I told you, if you've been drinking, just call me. I'll worry about you getting into a car with a stranger. You never know what kind of creeps are driving for these services." A muscle twitched in my jaw. My brother had always been a snob, looking down his nose at anyone he deemed beneath him. What was wrong with driving for Uber? It was an honest living. This was a safe society. The app tracked everything. Who would be stupid enough to try anything? But the real gut punch wasn't Ethan's condescension. It was seeing him with Isabelle. For years, I've followed her career from a distance, watching online as she defied all expectations. No one thought she could rebuild from the ashes of her family's company, but in just a few short years, she had. Not long ago, I'd seen a gossip column speculating she was about to get married. I dismissed it as a rumor. Now, seeing Ethan holding her hands so intimately, the truth hit me. We were ancient history. A bitter smile touched my lips. I pulled myself together and addressed them calmly. "Ma'am, if you don't need the ride, could you please cancel the trip in the app? I'll be on my way." I turned back to my car, eager to escape a scene that was tearing me apart piece by piece. But Ethan's voice stopped me. "Hold on," he said, his brow furrowed. "You look familiar." He stepped closer, scrutinizing me from head to toe, stopping just short of ripping the mask off my face. My heart hammered against my ribs, but with everyone watching, I couldn't just bolt. It would look too guilty. I wiped my sweaty palms on my jeans, kept my head low, and forced my voice into a rougher, lower register. "I don't think so. I just drive. You folks have a good night. I've got another fare waiting." I tried to keep my voice steady, but I could feel Isabelle's gaze on me now, and my composure started to crack. My mind was a swamp of panic. "It's nothing. You can go," Ethan said after a moment, waving me away dismissively. A wave of relief washed over me. I practically scrambled back to my car, desperate to leave this circle of hell. But my old Civic chose that exact moment to act up. I turned the key, and the engine sputtered and died. It took 3 tries before it finally coughed to life. Just as I was about to pull away, Ethan gave the rear of my car a sudden, hard shove. The car lurched forward, losing control for a split second before the bumper crunched into the back of Isabelle's Porsche. I'm so sorry," I stammered, jumping out of the car, sweat beading on my forehead. My apology died in my throat when I saw the deep scratch marring the Porsche's perfect finish. It was the latest model. The repair cost would be more than I made in a year. "You piece of trash," Kevin Miller shrieked before Isabelle could even speak. He was practically vibrating with eagerness to defend her. He lunged forward, grabbing the front of my jacket and dragging me in front of her. "You did that on purpose, didn't you? Trying to scam some money out of her." He shoved me closer. "Apologize to Ms. Reed, you lowlife." Caught off guard, I stumbled forward, ending up less than 3 feet from Isabelle. For a fleeting second, I caught the scent of her perfume, a fragrance so familiar it made my chest ache. Snapping back to reality, I started babbling apologies again. "I'm so sorry. It wasn't my fault." Before I could finish, Ethan stepped forward and, with a swift motion, ripped the mask from my face. The cold night air hit my skin. 2 words echoed in my mind. "I'm screwed." "Leo Vance?" Someone in the crowd gasped. "Brother, it really is you," Ethan said with a predatory smile, his eyes glinting with malicious glee. "What's this? Playing dress up? Or did you know Isabelle would be here and decided to lie in wait?" He clapped a hand on my shoulder, his voice oozing false concern. "You know, after you vanished, Mom and Dad were so worried about you." It all clicked into place. Ethan had recognized me from start. Shoving my car was deliberate. He wanted to unmask me in the most humiliating way possible. Every stare felt like a needle piercing my skin. I opened my mouth to explain that Ethan had pushed me, but Isabelle's voice, cold as ice, cut through the air. "Leo, you swore you'd be better off without me. So what's this? Is this your better life?" She stepped forward, snatched the helmet I'd left on my passenger seat, and threw it to the ground. Her face was a mask of pure scorn. "When my family went bankrupt, you ran for the hills. And for what? You couldn't even find a rich woman to leech off of." 1,000 tiny knives twisted in my heart. I lowered my head, my voice barely a whisper. "I'm sorry, Ms. Reed. Damaging your car was my fault. I'll pay for it." "Pay," she scoffed. "With what? That piece of junk you call a car?" Where are you planning to sell that face of yours? Though, looking at you now, I can't imagine any woman would be interested. You're pathetic. Her words were a public execution. Seeing her reaction, the sycophants around her smelled blood in the water and joined the attack. Kevin Miller rolled his eyes. Don't tell me you were waiting here for her advance. You heard she's successful again and thought you could rekindle an old flame? Take a look at yourself. Do you really think you're worthy? Someone else chimed in with a look of pitying disgust. Honestly, Isabelle, you dodged a bullet. A guy like this could never keep up with you. If you ask me, she's much better off with this gentleman, another said, gesturing toward Ethan. His own brother, and they're like night and day. Some people are just born losers. Isabelle let their insults wash over me, a silent, approving queen. After a long moment, she spoke, her voice calm and measured. Comparing Leo to Ethan? Please. He's not even in the same league. Ethan seized his moment, wrapping his arm around Isabelle's waist and pulling her close. He looked at me, his smile triumphant. Oh, by the way, Isabelle and I are having our engagement party soon. Now that you're back, brother, you simply must come. Ethan's words hit me like a physical blow, rooting me to the spot. Isabelle marrying him? It was unthinkable. I knew what kind of person Ethan was better than anyone. Seeing my stunned silence, the smugness in Ethan's eyes intensified. You'll wish us well, won't you, brother? He tightened his grip on Isabelle, pulling her fully into his embrace. She frowned for a fraction of a second, but didn't resist, instead leaning against him with a practiced ease. I watched them, my knuckles turning white as I clenched my fists. The woman I loved more than life itself, and the man who wanted to destroy me, were about to become a couple, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. The crowd around us watched with hungry eyes, anticipating the next act of this drama. Isabelle's gaze was locked on me, her dark eyes searching for something, waiting for my reaction. I turned my head away, my voice flat and devoid of emotion. It has nothing to do with me. I gave her a slight, formal bow and started to walk away. Don't you regret it? Her voice followed me, a tangled mess of anger and hope. Don't you regret your decision for a single second? I stopped, my back still to her. After a long, heavy silence, I spoke, each word a carefully placed stone. Never. I took another step, and I never will. I heard a sharp cry of fury, and then something hard slammed into my back. Her phone. The impact barely registered. So, it's true, she screamed, her voice cracking. You really left because you thought I would drag you down. I took a deep breath, the air burning my lungs, and forced the lie from my lips. That's right. After all, I continued, my voice a cold, dead thing. I was looking for a partner with money, not a charity case. With that, I got into my car without a backward glance and drove away. Her final shout echoed in the night air, a promise and a curse. Leo Vance, I will make you regret this. The car sped down the empty street, and the dam finally broke. Tears blurred my vision, hot and useless. A profound loathing for myself washed over me. Why did I have to hurt her again? The cruel words were a double-edged sword. They had shredded her heart, and they had left me bleeding. I dragged my exhausted body back to my small apartment, but something was wrong. The lights were off. Usually, no matter how late I came home, my mother would leave a light on and a plate of food waiting for me. I flipped the switch, and my heart seized. Mom? Mom, what's wrong? She was on the floor, unconscious but still breathing. I fumbled for my phone, dialed 911, and followed the ambulance to the hospital in a daze. After a series of tests, the doctor met me in the hallway, his face grim. Mr. Vance, your mother's condition can't be ignored any longer. The tumor has started to become malignant. My blood ran cold. It wasn't severe before, but the situation is not optimistic now. Chemotherapy can help control it. He continued gently. She needs to be admitted for treatment as soon as possible. I'd known about her condition for a while, but I kept the truth from her, telling her it was just a minor issue. She believed it was just the aches and pains of getting older. I hesitated, then asked the question I was dreading. How much will the treatment cost? The doctor, who knew my financial situation, sighed. The cost could be quite high. You need to be prepared. He laid out the numbers, and the world tilted on its axis. When I returned to her room, she was awake and already insisting on going home. I did my best to soothe her. We're already here, Mom. Let's just do a full checkup. The doctor said it's best to get checked every 3 months at your age. I lied. Just to be safe. She was still reluctant. So I added another lie, telling her the checkup was a free benefit for my job. That finally pacified her. But just as we were leaving the hospital, my phone rang. It was my manager from the rideshare hub. Hey, Leo, he started, his tone making my stomach clench. I've got some news. I had a bad feeling. and sure enough, his next words confirmed it. "You've been let go." "I don't know what happened," he said, sounding genuinely confused. "We got a notice from corporate. Said you're not to be employed by any of our services nationwide. Did you piss someone off?" The manager's words sent my world into a freefall. Just when I needed money the most, I'd lost my job. There was no doubt in my mind who was behind this. Isabelle Reed. "What is it, Leo?" my mother asked, seeing the look on my face. I forced a smile. "Nothing, Mom. Just work stuff." After I took her home, I opened the private Facebook group where local drivers posted about odd jobs and tips. I typed out a message asking if anyone knew of any openings. I hit send, and a bright red exclamation point appeared next to my message. "You have been removed from this group." She was really going to do this? To cut off every possible lifeline? A feeling of absolute despair washed over me. I was at the end of my rope. That night, I checked into the hospital admissions office and got a cot, setting it up in a hallway on my mother's floor. Watching the endless parade of people coming and going, I had never felt so alone. The next few days were a frantic blur of job hunting. My mother's condition was worse than I thought. Within 3 days, she could barely get out of bed. I loaded every cent I had on her hospital payment card, but it was a drop in the ocean. I called everyone I knew, begging for loans, but few were willing or able to help. I needed a job that paid fast. Finally, in a local gig work forum, I saw a post. A high-end club was hiring servers. Cash paid nightly. I followed the address in the post. The manager looked me over, noted my relatively decent appearance, and hired me on the spot. He quickly ran me through the rules. "It's simple," he said. "The customer is always right. Whatever they want, you give it to them with a smile. Some of them have unique requests. You don't complain, you just do it." I nodded. It was the service industry. "I got it. Good. You start tonight. 7-day trial period, but you get paid for it." "Okay," I said. "Thank you." After getting my mother settled with her dinner at the hospital, I headed to the club for my first shift. I'd waited tables before, so the work felt familiar. Pushing drinks, smiling at customers, keeping the glasses full. My looks probably helped. Most of the patrons were friendly enough, and a few even slipped me some generous tips. The night was going smoothly until a message came through on the staff group chat. A VIP suite needed another round of expensive champagne delivered. Normally, the other servers would have been fighting for the chance. VIPs meant big tips. But tonight, the chat was dead silent. I didn't think twice. I needed the money. I volunteered immediately. As I was grabbing the bottles from the bar, the cashier leaned in and whispered, "Hey, new guy, drop the drinks and get out of there. Fast. Don't linger." "Why?" I asked. Heard the woman in there. She's a real piece of work. Likes to mess with people. A knot of anxiety tightened in my stomach, but I clenched my jaw and pushed the cart forward. I had to do this. I rolled the cart into the suite. A loud group of women were drinking and laughing, so absorbed in their conversation that they didn't even notice me. I let out a quiet sigh of relief. I placed the bottles on the table and was about to make my exit when a sharp voice stopped me. "Server, wait." My heart jumped, but I turned around with a practiced smile. "Yes, ma'am. Is there anything else I can get for you?" The woman who spoke was sitting in the center of the group, dressed in a stunning, slightly predatory way. When she got a clear look at my face, a slow, appreciative smile spread across hers. "You're new. I haven't seen you around before." I nodded. "Yes, ma'am. First night." Her smile widened. "Well, the manager's taste is finally improving. This one's got a nice face. Good build, too, from the looks of it." She turned to her friends. "It's my birthday. Come on, have a few drinks with me and my girls." I felt a surge of panic. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I don't drink with customers. If you'd like someone to join you, I can call one of the hosts for you." Her smile vanished, replaced by a mask of cold fury. "Does anyone dare to refuse me? I'm telling you to drink with me. Now." The other women in the room chimed in, their voices dripping with scorn. "Cassandra Frost is showing an interest in you. That's a compliment, you idiot. Don't be ungrateful." "Exactly. The tip you'll get will be more than your monthly salary." The woman, Cassandra, looked even more smug. She pulled a thick wad of cash from her designer handbag and slapped it on the table. $1,000 a glass. She fanned the bills out. "Keep us happy." And there's more where that came from. My eyes were glued to the cash. It was a fortune. It was a solution. But I thought of my stomach, of the ulcer that flared up with even a single beer. I had to refuse. Before I could speak, the suite door swung open, and a familiar, chilling voice cut through the air. "He's here for the money, isn't he? Why pretend to have principles?" It was Isabelle Reed. She was here. She shot me a look of pure contempt before walking straight to Cassandra, handing her a gift-wrapped box. "Happy birthday, Cassandra. Sorry I'm late." "Isabelle, you're too kind," Cassandra purred. She gestured toward me. "What a shame. This little pretty boy was just about to ruin the mood. What should we do with him? Oh, that's easy, Isabelle said, turning to look at me. Her eyes were filled with a vicious glint that made my stomach drop. Her next words felt like a death sentence. I hope you have a fun night, Miss Frost, I said quickly, my voice tight. I have to get back to work. I made a move for the door, but Isabelle's hand shot out and grabbed my arm, her grip like steel. If you walk out that door tonight, she said, her voice low and dangerous, I'll make sure you never work again in Seacrest City. ####. I knew she was telling the truth. With her influence and Cassandra Frost connections, they could blacklist me from every industry in the city. If that happened, I wouldn't just be out of a job. I'd be finished. My life in Seacrest would be over. I couldn't understand it. This was the woman I had once loved, and now she seemed intent on destroying me. Was this her goal? To push me into a corner until there was nothing left. I struggled to keep my voice even. Fine, I said, my voice tight. I'll drink. Cassandra's face lit up. See, Ms. Reed knows how to get things done. He's putty in your hands. She smirked at me. But just letting you off the hook like that seems a little too easy. I had thought surrendering would be enough, but she was more relentless than I'd imagined. I agree, Isabelle said, her voice dangerously smooth. She walked to a side table, picked up a bottle of whiskey, and twisted the cap off. She strode back to me, the open bottle in her hand. You need money, right? She said, her voice dripping with scorn. Cassandra just offered you $1,000 a glass. She reached into her purse, pulled out a stack of bills, and threw it at my feet. Then another, and another. That should be enough to cover the whole table. I stared at the money scattered on the floor around me. To them, it was nothing, the price of a night out. And for that, they could trample on someone's dignity without a second thought. I lifted my eyes to the woman I had once cherished. She stood before me, her face a cold, hard mask, devoid of the warmth I remembered. Her gaze was chilling, every bit of it screaming of a deep, abiding hatred. All these years, and she had never let it go. When I didn't move, Isabelle sneered. What's the matter? Not enough. That's half a year's salary for someone like you. All you have to do is swallow your pride. Her voice dropped to a menacing whisper. I'm giving you one last chance. Drink it, and you can take the money. If you can't, you can get the hell out of Seacrest City. For good. She stood over me, grinding my self-respect into the dust. No matter which path I chose, it was a form of torture. But at this point, I had no choice at all. Since Ms. Frost is the one who's upset, I said, my voice hollow, I'll drink. I took the bottle from Isabelle's hand, tilted my head back, and let the whiskey pour down my throat. It burned, a trail of fire that seared my esophagus and hit my sensitive stomach like a punch. I choked it down, the amber liquid spilling down my chin and soaked in front of my shirt. After finishing the bottle, I coughed, my throat raw. Ms. Frost, I rasped, I've had the drink. I apologize for my behavior earlier. Watching me down the entire bottle, Cassandra burst out laughing. This server is interesting, but still, Ms. Reed, you've got the magic touch. He didn't dare fight back. She clapped her hands. Excellent, excellent. You drank, and now I feel much better. Hearing her say that, a wave of relief washed over me. Since Ms. Frost is satisfied, I won't disturb you any longer. I turned, carefully stepping over the scattered money, and walked toward the door. I was almost there when Cassandra's voice stopped me. Hey, did I say you could leave? I paused at the threshold. You're a strange one, she continued. You're not going to take the money on the floor. I turned back to face her. I offended you, Ms. Frost. The drink was my apology. I can't accept payment for that. I let my gaze drift to Isabelle. Besides, that's Ms. Reed's money. I have no right to it. We have no relationship, so there's no reason for me to take her money. I looked directly at Isabelle. If she wanted to cut ties, to make a clean break, then let's make it absolute. Cassandra let out a loud laugh. Wow, gutsy. I like it. She looked me up and down. What's your name? Maybe you should come work for me instead. I knew she was serious, but my co-worker's warning echoed in my ears. Thank you for the offer, Ms. Frost, but I'm fine where I am. Her expression soured. My refusal to play along was clearly not what she expected. What's this? You show Ms. Reed respect, but not me. You've already lost 2 jobs because of her. You're not afraid you'll lose this one too? I looked at her, my face impassive. People with money always loved to flex their power. They could make someone's career overnight. They could crush someone just as easily. What will it take for you to let this go, Ms. Frost? I asked, finally conceding. Seeing me finally bend, she lit up. Simple. Either you come work for me, or you drink every bottle on that table. I'll give you $100,000. Her eyes gleamed. Pick one, me or the money. Someone at the table laughed. Cassandra. I've never seen you make such a bad deal. Either way, you lose. Cassandra just smiled. What do you know? It's not every day you meet a handsome man who piques your interest. I'm happy to spend a little. Her smile turned sharp. But if he chooses neither and pisses me off, well, don't blame me for what happens next. I don't believe anyone is above money. Do you? Isabelle, who had been watching from the side, chimed in with a laugh. I think he wants both. Cassandra looked at her, puzzled. What do you mean? You seem to know him well. Isabelle's gaze shot to me, her eyes filled with a simmering rage. I hardly know him at all, she said, her voice tight. We have no connection whatsoever. Cassandra nodded, then turned her attention back to me. Well then, the choice is yours. The group sat there, watching me like I was a toy they were about to break for their amusement. I glanced at Isabelle. Her face was a blank canvas, her dark eyes revealing nothing. She was letting them do this, letting them humiliate me, while they threw around vulgar jokes and insults that washed over me in waves of laughter. No matter what I chose, it was a dead end. I'll choose the drinks, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. After all, there's money on the table. It would be a shame to let it go to waste. Cassandra's eyebrows shot up in surprise. Then she clapped her hands and roared with laughter. Yes, just like Ms. Reed said, no one walks away from money. She pointed to the array of bottles on the table. Drink it all, and $100 grand is yours. She pulled a black credit card from her wallet and tossed it onto the table. PIN is 8/8. Whether you can walk away with it is up to you. I stared at the card. $100,000. It could solve everything, at least for now. In the past, my pride would have never allowed this. But pride means nothing when you're staring down life and death. Isabelle watched me, her expression cold and unreadable. She was waiting for this, waiting to see me break, to see me suffer. But I had no other choice. I took a deep breath and picked up a bottle. Since Ms. Frost is being so generous, it would be rude of me to refuse. With that, I started drinking. I forced the liquor down, bottle after bottle, ignoring the fire in my throat and the churning in my stomach. The crowd of women cheered me on, their whoops and hollers echoing in the room. I was their entertainment for the night, a clown performing for their pleasure. For people like them, money was meaningless. What they wanted was a good show. But it was an entire table of hard liquor. Even a seasoned drinker would have buckled. The alcohol soaked the front of my shirt and frayed the edges of my consciousness. I started to slow down. Someone noticed and grumbled in annoyance. A man I hadn't seen before came over and tried to grab a bottle to force it down my throat, but Cassandra waved him off. I had to keep going. I took another long swallow, the burn making my eyes water. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Isabelle. She hadn't said a word, just watched me with that same blank expression. What was she thinking? Was it hatred? Anger? The sweet satisfaction of revenge? Just as a sharp, stabbing pain shot through my abdomen and my vision started to blur, Isabelle finally spoke. Get on your knees and apologize, she said, her voice cutting through the haze. Do that, and I might persuade Ms. Frost to let you off the hook for the last few bottles. She stood over me, her eyes like chips of ice. Cassandra looked surprised. Ms. Reed, did he do something to you? You seem to have it out for him. Isabelle hesitated, her voice dropping to a low growl. Yes, I don't know Ms. Reed very well. I interrupted, my voice rough. I'm almost done. Please, wait a moment, Ms. Frost. I didn't want her to humiliate me any further. If I had hurt her in the past, then I would take this punishment. After this, we would truly be strangers. Hearing my words, Isabelle's eyes blazed with fury. Fine, if you're so capable, then finish it. I picked up another bottle. I was only halfway through when an agonizing cramp seized my stomach. My face went pale. Look at him, he's not going to make it. His face is white as a sheet. Guess he's about to give up. That money isn't so easy to earn after all. Cassandra didn't say anything, just watched me. How about this? You get on your knees and beg me. I grabbed a nearby stool and sank onto it. A man only kneels for his parents. How could I kneel for you? I forced a weak smile. It's just 2 bottles. I'll drink them. I hope you'll keep your word, Miss Frost. She studied me for a long moment, as if trying to figure me out. If you finish this, she said finally, and you can walk out that door on your own 2 feet, then if you ever have trouble in Seacrest City, you can come find me. My peripheral vision caught Isabelle's reaction. She froze, a flicker of surprise on her face, but she said nothing. Since you're being so generous, Ms. Frost, I said, my voice strained, I can't disappoint you. I opened the last 2 bottles. I took a deep, shuddering breath, fighting back the wave of nausea that threatened to overwhelm me. I dug my fingernails into my thigh, the sharp pain a welcome anchor to reality. I could feel the veins in my neck bulging with the effort. Damn, he's really holding it in. Look at the veins on his neck, someone exclaimed. I forced down the last of the alcohol. The world tilted, and a splitting headache crashed over me. When I finished, the room, which had been buzzing with noise, fell silent. My face was flushed, my head spinning. I clenched my fists, digging my nails into my palms, trying to ground myself. I wobbled to my feet. I looked at Cassandra. Ms. Frost, happy birthday. Please excuse me. Her expression was no longer mocking, but serious. All right, I respect a man with guts. Take the money and go. But don't you dare puke on your way out. If you do, it means I, Cassandra Frost, misjudged you. I swayed on my feet as I reached for the card on the table. Thank you, Ms. Frost. I'll remember your kindness. My gaze swept over to Isabelle. Her face was a storm of conflicting emotions, but her eyes, fixed on me, were full of cold fury. I turned and walked toward the door. My stomach was a roiling sea of acid, threatening to erupt at any moment. I clenched my jaw, my steps unsteady. The door seemed miles away, my vision blurred, and I nearly collapsed, catching myself on the doorframe. My head slammed against the wood, the sharp jolt clearing my vision for a second. Behind me, I heard a gasp. That was a hard hit. Is he going to be okay? What if something happens? Isabelle's voice, sharp and cruel, cut through the noise. It was his choice. If something happens, he has only himself to blame. Her words were a bitter joke. The person I had risked my life to save now seemed to wish me dead. But she was right. Weren't all my sacrifices my own choice? I pushed myself upright and stumbled out of the suite, down the long, silent hallway. For the first time, this path felt endless. The sounds around me faded into a dull roar. All I wanted was to reach the exit, but the door seemed to recede with every step I took. And then just ahead, I saw it. The exit. In the soft glow of the streetlight, a figure seemed to be standing there, a woman in a white dress, smiling and waving at me. It was the smile I remembered, the person I remembered, a smile I hadn't seen in a very long time. I clutched my stomach, reaching out a hand toward the shimmering image, but it vanished as quickly as it had appeared. Another wave of nausea hit me, snapping me back to reality. It was just a hallucination. The person I remembered was right here, in the same city, but she was a universe away, forever out of my reach. The pain in my gut intensified, and beads of sweat formed on my brow. I gritted my teeth and made a final, desperate dash for the door. I barely made it to a trash can on the sidewalk before I doubled over, retching until my throat was raw and my eyes streamed with tears. The acrid smell of alcohol filled the air. My body convulsed with a pain so intense it felt like my insides were being torn out. When it was over, I collapsed against a nearby planter, my body weak and trembling. I was drunk, disoriented, and felt like I was dying. My legs were jelly. I slid down the side of the planter and sat on the cold concrete. I don't know how long I sat there, but I was startled awake by a gentle shaking. Young man, you can't sleep here. I jolted awake, my hand immediately flying to my pocket. The card was still there. I let out a breath of relief and started to pull myself up. When I turned, I saw her. Isabelle was standing right behind me, her expression dark and stormy. Still haven't learned a thing, have you? She said, her voice dripping with contempt. Willing to throw your life away for a little bit of money. She was talking about the drinking. Of course she was. But this wasn't just money. This was my mother's life. I managed a bitter smile. Of course. In this world, who doesn't love money? Her face hardened, her voice turning to ice. So you love money that much? Fine. Since you chose to come back here to die, I'll grant your wish. I'll cut off every source of income you have. We'll see how you survive in Seacrest City then. I knew she could do it. But not now. Please, not now. Did it really have to end like this between us? I looked up at her. What will it take for you to just let me go? Let you go? She repeated, stepping closer until she was towering over me, her eyes boring into mine. What do you think it would take for me to let you go? She leaned down, her face inches from mine, her gaze fierce. I want you to die. When she said it, the hatred in her eyes was like 1,000 tiny daggers stabbing into my heart. She hated me that much. But even if I had abandoned her, it couldn't be this bad. There had to be something else. I gritted my teeth. It's true I left without saying goodbye. But you don't have to hate me this much, do you? It was just a relationship. Did you really take it so seriously? My words had the intended effect. Her face contorted with rage, and she slapped me hard. You think this is about your pathetic feelings? You give yourself way too much credit. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her body trembling with a violent, suppressed emotion. The sting on my cheek was a hot, spreading fire. If it's not that, then what is it? Her eyes, glistening with unshed tears, stared at me, but she remained silent. I had a growing suspicion that there was something I didn't know, something more than just a broken heart. The love she'd had for me, I knew how deep it ran. To be betrayed by someone you love that much, to be abandoned at your lowest point, that was a wound that festered. But this felt different. This felt like there was a secret hidden in the shadows of her pain. Just then, Ethan appeared, rushing to Isabelle's side and wrapping a protective arm around her. "Isabelle, what's wrong? Are you okay?" She didn't speak, just looked at him with a grief-stricken expression, as if he were her lifeline. "I'm fine," she whispered. "Let's go." Ethan saw her red eyes and turned to me, his gaze cold. "Brother, what did you say to her? Why is she crying?" I had no defense. Seeing my silence, Ethan pressed on. "It's been years. Haven't you hurt her enough? She had to carry the weight of her family's entire company. She finally made it through. Do you have any idea how hard that was for her?" Of course I knew. To take a company on the brink of collapse and turn it into a powerhouse required unimaginable courage and sacrifice. She should have been living a carefree life, but instead, she had become a hardened, unsmiling titan of industry. Ethan's words were a knife in my gut, but he had no right to say them. "This is between me and Isabelle," I said, turning to leave. The pain in my stomach, which had been a dull ache, was starting to sharpen again. "Stop right there." Ethan's voice was sharp. "Even though you're my brother, I have to say this. If you have even an ounce of guilt for what you did, then leave Seacrest City and never come back." I owed Isabelle an apology. That much was true. But I couldn't leave. My mother was here for treatment. Moving to another city would be too hard on her, and the insurance coverage would be a nightmare. I laughed, a hollow sound. Why should I feel sorry for what happened back then? It was just a normal breakup. Ethan's face flushed with anger. He lunged toward me, ready to defend Isabelle's honor. Isabelle grabbed his arm, stopping him. She looked at me, her eyes filled with a profound disappointment. "Remember what you said today," she said, her voice trembling with rage. "I will make you kneel and beg me." I forced a cold smile. "I'm afraid you'll be disappointed, Ms. Reed. I kneel to heaven and earth, but never to another person." With that, I turned away. "You'd better not fall into my hands," she screamed at my back, her voice a torrent of anger and sorrow. "Remember this. Even if you die, you will die by my hand." She turned and walked away, and once again, we were heading in opposite directions. I endured the pain until I got back to the hospital and swallowed a painkiller. When I got the results of my own tests, my world went dark. Why now? Of all the times, why did it have to be now? Stage 4 stomach cancer. A part of me wanted to rage against the unfairness of it all, but in the end, I was forced to accept it. When it comes to life and death, we don't get a choice. It comes for you, relentlessly and without negotiation. I thought of my mother, lying in her hospital bed. I could only grit my teeth and pretend everything was fine. "Doctor," I asked, my voice barely a whisper, "how long do I have?" The doctor looked at my test results, his expression pained. He shook his head. "It seems fate loves to kick a man when he's down. The rope always breaks at its thinnest point." "Thank you, doctor. I understand." I clutched the report and walked back toward my mother's room. I peeked through the crack in the door and saw her sleeping. If I had to choose between her and me, the choice was easy. I would give her this chance. After all, she had saved my life twice. It was time I repaid the debt. ####. I was lost in thought when a nurse pushed the door open. I quickly stuffed the report into my pocket and walked in with a smile. "Mom, are you feeling any better?" She saw me and managed a weak smile of her own. I'm fine. Just feel so tired sometimes." Her brow furrowed with worry. "This illness is taking so long to go away. Are you sure it's nothing serious?" I forced another smile. "Of course not. It's just a flu, a really bad case. You know how it is, it can knock you out for a week or two, make you feel weak. Don't worry, just trust the doctors." She nodded, though she didn't look convinced. "In my nightstand, under everything, there's a savings book. Go take the money out. My Social Security and all the bits and pieces I've saved, it's all in there." I shook my head. "No need, Mom. I have money. Don't you worry about that." I left her room, and my phone buzzed. It was a message from the admin of one of the gig work forums I used to be in. He said he had a driver job for me. "This is a great opportunity. Leo," the message read. "The boss is super generous. 3 to 5 grand a month." I was tempted, but considering my health, I knew I couldn't do it. I politely declined. But he was insistent, demanding we meet in person. He'd helped me out in the past, so I couldn't just blow him off. I made an excuse and left the hospital. I went to the address he sent. Before I could even speak, he was dragging me inside a small office. Come on, you don't want to miss this. Just sign the contract, and you can start right away." "I'm sorry. I said, trying to pull back. I don't think I'm the right fit. I haven't been feeling well. He just shoved a pen into my hand. You can get treatment while you work. A job this good is impossible to find. Besides, how are you going to pay for medical bills without a job? He was acting strangely desperate. I realized with a sinking feeling that he must have been promised something for getting me to sign. Before I could protest further, he produced an ink pad from somewhere, grabbed my hand, and half cajoling, half forcing, pressed my thumbprint onto the contract. Then he grinned and called out to an inner room. Ms. Reed, the contract is signed. He's ready to go with you now. Ms. Reed? Before the question could fully form in my mind, Isabelle stepped out from the back room, her face a cold, impassive mask. She nodded once. Good. The sight of her froze me to the spot. It was all a setup. I grabbed my things from the table and made for the door. Sorry, I can't take this job. You'll have to find someone else. The forum admin's friendly demeanor vanished. The contract is signed. You can't back out now. If you do, according to the terms, you'll have to pay a penalty. That's when I noticed the fine print. The breach of contract clause. I'm sorry, I said, my voice tight. I have a medical condition. I can't accept this position. Isabelle looked at me, her eyes like ice. What condition? Are you dying? That's even better. I can watch you slowly waste away. Her words were like shards of glass, piercing my chest. This was the woman I had loved with every fiber of my being. I felt like I was plunging into an icy abyss, powerless to explain, powerless to fight back. I clutched the contract in my hand. My diagnosis was right there in my pocket, but I didn't have the courage to show it to her. I'm sorry, I repeated, my voice hoarse. I really can't do this job. Please, cancel the contract. Cancel. The admin scoffed. Not possible. Unless you can afford the massive penalty fee. Not to mention, Ms. Reed has the right to sue you for damages. It was a perfectly laid trap. She knew I was desperate for money. She used someone I trusted to lower my guard. Isabelle took the contract from the table. Either you work as my driver and do exactly as I say, or you pay up. The choice is yours. She didn't even wait for my answer, just turned and walked toward the door. I knew what this was. This was her revenge. If I was by her side, my life would be a living hell. She had warned me not to fall into her hands. I reached out and grabbed her arm. What will it take for you to let me go? She stopped, turned to face me. You want me to let you go? I took a deep breath. I was wrong about what happened in the past. But this isn't good for either of us. Why don't you just let me go? We can both have some peace. Isabelle let out a cold, humorless laugh. In your dreams. I told you, I want to watch you die. I knew it wouldn't be that easy. Just tell me, what do I have to do to get out of this contract? You can't. You either show up for work, or I'll see you in court. She wrenched her arm from my grasp and walked out without a backward glance. I had no choice. But if this was what it took to save my mother, then I would do it. I would be Isabelle's driver. I just didn't know what fresh hell awaited me. Did it really have to come to this? If this would bring her some peace, some satisfaction, then let it be my penance. The forum admin, seeing Isabelle leave, immediately checked his phone for the payment he'd received for trapping me. I walked over to him, picked up a glass of water from the table, and threw it in his face. Before he could react, I was out the door. I went back to the hospital, gave some instructions to the home care aide I'd hired for my mother, and then went to the oncology department to get a prescription. The doctor looked at my chart with a puzzled expression. Young man, if you start treatment now, you still have a chance of recovery. Thank you, doctor, I said. But for now, I'd just like to manage the symptoms. Can you just give me some medication? He shook his head with a sigh. All right, I'll write you a prescription. But you're in the middle stages now. Don't wait too long. If it progresses to the final stage, there will be nothing we can do. I understand. Thank you. Leaving the doctor's office, I made a decision. I had to go back to the Vance family home. It was a place I had once dreamed of returning to, a place that had ultimately cast me out. But I had to try. If I could get some money from them, maybe I wouldn't have to work for Isabelle. My father, Robert Vance, opened the door. His face was a cold mask. What are you doing here? I looked at him. If it weren't for his blood running through my veins, I wouldn't have come back either. This is my home, isn't it? Can't I come back? Did you forget what you said 3 years ago? He sneered. Of course I hadn't forgotten. That I had demanded money in exchange for giving him a kidney. Was that reason enough to disown me? Father, have you forgotten that a part of me is literally inside of you? You told me then that our blood bond could never be broken. Are you going back on your word now? 3 years ago, he had shown up out of the blue, claiming he wanted to make things right with my mother and me. I had been naive, hopeful that my parents could reconcile, that we could finally have a normal life. Then I learned the truth. Robert Vance needed a kidney. For some reason, his son with his new wife, Ethan, wasn't a match. So he came to me, blinded by childish yearning for a family. I thought that by helping him, we could all live happily ever after. But in the end, all that waited for me was another circle of hell. My words made my father's face flush with anger. He knew that I was the reason he was still alive. He might not care about me, but he cared about his reputation. After a long silence, he finally spoke. "Are you here for money again?" He'd already heard from Ethan that I was back, and that I was struggling, that I was taking odd jobs, that I was hitting on rich women in bars for free drinks. Ethan had painted me in the worst possible light, ensuring that my father would think I was only here for a handout. Since he'd asked so directly, I decided to be just as blunt. "Yes." He slammed his hand on a nearby table. "Is that all you ever want from me? Money? Is the only meaning this family has for you a source of cash?" ####. His face was contorted with rage. There was nothing there but disgust for me. "You abandoned me," I said with a scornful laugh. "Then you schemed to bring me back home. Weren't your motives just as selfish? Do we really have any father-son bond to speak of?" Robert's face cycled through shades of red and purple. Finally, he managed to spit out, "No money. I'm not a bank. I can't fill your bottomless pit. You have a gambling addiction. What good would giving you more money do?" His words made me laugh. He was good at making up excuses for me. Since that was the case, there was no point in explaining. There was no family affection here. No need to pretend. If you have any gratitude for the fact that I saved your life, giving me some money shouldn't be too much to ask, I said coolly. Otherwise, I can't guarantee I won't tell the tabloids the whole story. About your affair, about how you preyed on your own son for an organ. Let's see what the world thinks of you then. He glared at me, a mixture of anger and indignation. He knew what he'd done was wrong. Just then, a lavishly dressed woman appeared in the doorway. It was Ethan's mother, Helen. The moment I saw her, a cold hatred filled me. I had often wondered, if it weren't for this woman, would my life have been different? Shortly after my mother was thrown out, Helen married my father and quickly became pregnant. To pave the way for her own son, she took me to a park and lost me, then delayed reporting me missing. I was abducted and sold to a family deep in the mountains. If my mother hadn't spent every waking moment searching for me, I would have never been found. And the woman responsible for it all claimed I had just been a mischievous child who had wandered off. She and her son had enjoyed everything that should have been mine. Sensing the hostility in my eyes, Helen looked momentarily flustered, but she quickly put on a smile. "Robert, the boy just got back. Don't be so hard on him. Whatever mistakes he's made, we can forgive them. You're the only one who's good to him," Robert snapped. "And look at his attitude. He still hasn't called you Mom. What kind of behavior is that?" Mom? A woman with no blood relation to me, who had tried to destroy my life. She didn't deserve the title. Helen quickly tried to smooth things over. "It doesn't matter if he calls me that or not. Don't pressure him. It's rare for him to come back. Come on, let's go have dinner." I let out a cold laugh. "I won't be joining your happy family dinner. To be honest, the sight of you ruins my appetite." Helen froze, and for a split second, I saw a flash of venom in her eyes before it was gone. Of course, this was her game. She was waiting for me to say something hurtful. Leo, we really do hope we could be a harmonious family," she said, her voice trembling. I looked at her, my face a mask of ridicule. "Really? If that's the case, then why didn't anyone think to help my mother and me all those years? Why did you only come looking for me when you were on your deathbed?" Helen was speechless. Robert was so angry he could barely speak. He knew, deep down, that he had never intended to bring me back. He had a new wife, a new son, a new life. ####. Helen suddenly covered her face, her shoulders shaking with contrived sobs. "It's all my fault. If it weren't for me, it was always the same act. In front of my father, she was the picture of repentance. In front of me, she was a different person entirely." "Stop crying," Robert said, waving his hand impatiently. "It wasn't your fault. Go on, get out of here." Helen dabbed at her eyes as she backed away. Okay, I'll go. But please, don't yell at the boy. Talk to him nicely. Give him what he needs. After all, we owe him." Her performance was flawless, designed to maintain her image while subtly manipulating my father's judgment. And he fell for it every time. Her little act was enough to make him change his mind completely. "No money," he declared, his voice firm. "I can't fill your bottomless pit. Either you move back home, and I'll still recognize you as my son. You won't have to worry about living expenses here. Or, if you refuse to come back, I can give you $500 a month. That's it. A gambling addict like you can't be trusted with money." He squared his shoulders. "And don't try to threaten me. I'm your father. You are obligated to save me." He turned to shut the door in my face. I looked at the man who called himself my father, a storm raging inside me. "If I die one day," I said, my voice dangerously quiet, "it would probably be a good thing for you." I clenched my fists, staring at him. Everyone longs for a father's love, a mother's love. For me, it had been a luxury, and now it was a source of utter despair. Don't talk that nonsense to me, he grumbled just before the door closed. If you had any ambition, you wouldn't be in this mess today. I'll wire you the money every month. Don't come back here again. Just before the latch clicked, I heard him mutter, "How did I end up with a son like you? Useless." I fought back the pain and forced a smile. I wonder what you'll do when you find out one day that everything around you is a lie. Will you feel despair then? I look forward to it. I turned to leave. He opened the door again, calling after me. What's that supposed to mean? I paused, a smirk playing on my lips. What does it mean? You'll find out eventually. He wouldn't believe me now. His face hardened. Don't think you can confuse me with such talk. Fine. Then enjoy the ride until the truth finally hits you. I wonder what your face will look like then. Remember to send the money, I called over my shoulder. If you're short by even $1, I'm going straight to the press. With that, I walked away. I hadn't expected much, and this was pretty much what I'd anticipated. I had just gotten back to my rental when I saw a car parked out front. A man in a suit got out. "Mr. Vance?" "Hello, I'm Ms. Reed's assistant. You can call me Evans. I'm here to help you move." I was stunned. Move? Who said I'm moving? To ensure you're available on call, you'll need to move into Ms. Reed's villa. We can continue to pay the rent on this place for you, but you need to reside at Ms. Reed's property. His tone was polite but firm. I understood Isabelle's intention. She wanted me close, so she could torment me whenever she pleased. I refuse. I'm fine here. If she needs me, I could be there on call. Evans maintained his professional smile. I'm sorry, but refusal is not an option. The contract stipulates that you must follow all of Ms. Reed's arrangements. Before I could argue, he gestured to the car. Please get in. I haven't packed my things, my clothes. None of that will be necessary. Everything you need has been provided. You just need to come with me. I still went inside and grabbed a few personal items. When I came out, Evans was waiting by the car. After you, Mr. Vance. Hashtag. I felt less like I was in a new job and more like I was being abducted. Evans drove me to Isabelle's sprawling villa. Mr. Vance, your room is on the first floor. This will be your residence from now on. If you need anything, you can contact me or Mr. Henderson, the groundskeeper. With that, he left. The villa was quiet. The other staff seemed to have a night off. Since I was here, I figured I might as well settle in. I unpacked my few belongings and went to sleep. The night passed without incident. The next morning, the housekeeper, a kind older woman, woke me for breakfast. Leo, you'd better eat quickly. Ms. Ree will be leaving for work soon. The car is in the garage. The previous driver usually took the sedan. You can wait for her out front. I quickly ate breakfast, pulled the car out of the garage, and waited by the front door. Soon, Isabelle appeared. She glanced at me, her face cold and unexpressive, and walked to the car. I opened the door for her, and she slid in. The drive to her company was silent. She stared out the window. I stared at the road ahead. When we arrived, just before she got out, she turned to me. Add my number to your phone. I did. A text immediately came through. I want breakfast. Go to the suburbs and get me a salted caramel cronut from the Gilded Spoon. If you're not back in 30 minutes, I'm docking you $1,000. With that, she got out and swept into the building. The Gilded Spoon. It was the place we used to go. The place with her favorite pastry. The memories were sweet, but the reality was cruel. We were in the city center. Getting to the suburbs and back during morning rush hour would take at least an hour, probably more. I had no choice. I floored it, racing against the clock, my eyes darting between the road and the timer on my phone. I didn't dare stop for a second. I made it back, just in the nick of time, bursting into her office, out of breath. I made it. They were fresh out of the oven, still warm. Isabelle glanced up from her desk at my disheveled state, took the pastry box from my hand, and without even opening it, tossed it directly into the trash can beside her desk. What are you doing? I burst out. I bought that exactly as you asked. She looked at me, her expression chillingly calm. Yes, you did, but I don't want it anymore. And if I don't want it, I throw it away. Do I need your permission for that? Her words were cold, her actions even colder. This wasn't the Isabelle I knew. So you never wanted it, I said, the realization dawning on me. You just wanted to mess with me. She didn't deny it. Yes, I was messing with you. And what are you going to do about it? You do what I say when I say it. You don't get to question me. I finally understood. She was using our shared memories as a weapon to torture me. What else? She asked, her voice laced with ice. There are no more orders for you to follow? Seeing that I'd figured it out, she dropped the pretense. So what? The contract is very clear. You do whatever I ask. I looked at her. Are you trying to ease the hatred in your heart by tormenting me? Yes, she shouted, her face flushing, her eyes turning red. We stared at each other for a long, tense moment before she looked away. "If there's nothing else, I'll be outside," I said quietly. "Let me know if you need anything, Ms. Reed." I turned and left her office, nearly colliding with Ethan as he walked in. "Leo, what are you doing here?" he asked, surprised. "Are you here to see Isabelle?" My eyes fell on a bag in his hand, a pastry from a popular downtown bakery. Breakfast for Isabelle. She already had someone bringing her food, and she still sent me on that wild goose chase. I walked past him without a word. Behind me, I heard Isabelle's voice, suddenly warm and cheerful. "Ethan, you're here. I've been waiting for my breakfast." "Sorry, traffic was a nightmare," he replied smoothly. "I hope you're not starving." "Not all. I was waiting to eat with you." I heard her lead him into her office. Listening to their light-hearted banter, I could picture them together, happy and sweet, just like we used to be. But that was all gone now, replaced by a bitter ache in my chest. So this was her plan, to keep me close so she could torment me at her leisure. I took a deep breath, walked back to the car, and closed my eyes, trying to find a moment of peace. It didn't last long. A sharp rap on the window made me jump. I rolled it down to see Ethan's smirking face. "Well, brother," he said, leaning against the car, "you've certainly gone to great lengths to get close to Isabelle again. I heard you asked Dad for money and struck out. Now you're cozying up to her, hoping she'll take you back." My failure to get money from our father was both good and bad for him. Good, because it meant more for him. Bad, because it meant I ended up here. Ethan knew Isabelle. He knew that despite everything, the person she truly loved wasn't him. Even if her love for me had curdled into hate, I still occupied a significant space in her heart. He had only gotten his chance by swooping in when she was at her most vulnerable. "What's the matter?" I asked, a cold smile touching my lips. "Seeing me back makes you nervous? Worried I'll take your inheritance, or that I'll take Isabelle?" I leaned forward. "Or is it that you have no confidence in yourself? Maybe you know, deep down, that you were never really the one she wanted." My words hit their mark. Ethan's face contorted with rage, and he lunged forward, grabbing my collar. I just pointed to the security camera mounted on the building. "Go ahead. There's a camera right there. We can call the cops." I paused, letting my voice drop. "Oh, and by the way, thanks for all your hard work these past few years, spreading those rumors about my gambling addiction. Really creative stuff." I looked him straight in the eye. "But Ethan, have you forgotten what you did that night?" The color drained from his face. He released my collar, his hands falling to his sides as he struggled to control his emotions. Of course he hadn't forgotten. He was the one who had pushed me into the abyss. "I'm just a driver for Isabelle," I continued, my voice deceptively calm. "And you're already this wound up. Imagine what would happen if I actually apologized to her. What do you think she'd do?" He stared at me, his face a mask of hatred, unable to answer. He had no idea what she would do. Seeing his panic, I laughed. "Relax. Don't mess with me, and I'll stay out of your way. I'm just here to earn a paycheck. As for Isabelle, we're over." Ethan looked at me, searching my face for any sign of deception. "You're sure you won't try anything?" "We're done," I repeated. My reassurance seemed to calm him slightly. He straightened his tie. "See that you keep your word. Otherwise, crushing you would be as easy as stepping on an ant." I scoffed, unfazed by his threat. "Really? You'd better find a place with no cameras then. Otherwise, all your words and actions might just get you into trouble." I rolled up the window, cutting off whatever else he was about to say. He stood there for a moment, his words trapped in his throat, then glanced nervously at the cameras and the dashcam in my car. Finally, he stormed off in a huff. I hadn't been resting in the car for long when my phone rang. It was one of the nurses from the hospital. "Mr. Vance, can you come to the hospital? Your mother is insisting on going home. We can't seem to calm her down. If you have a moment, it would be best if you came as soon as you can." I had no choice. I started Isabelle's car and sped toward the hospital. When I arrived, a nurse was trying to reason with my mother, who was standing by the door, her suitcase packed. The moment she saw me, her eyes filled with tears. "Leo, why did you lie to me?" she cried, grabbing my arm. "You said it was just a bad flu. Why is it this?" In just a few days, my mother had lost so much weight. She looked frail, her eyes filled with a heartbreaking mix of fear and betrayal. A wave of guilt and sorrow washed over me. "I'm sorry, Mom. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was just afraid you wouldn't be able to handle it." My mother had never remarried, raising me all by herself, working tirelessly for decades to put me through college. I had finally graduated, met Isabelle, and landed a great job. We were planning to get married, to bring my mother to live with us. I thought everything was finally falling into place. Then the Van Sass world collapsed, and my father revealed his true colors. Before my mother could enjoy a single day of peace, I was lured into his trap. On the day I was discharged from the hospital after the kidney transplant, I was ambushed, beaten, and thrown into the sea, left for dead. When I finally dragged my broken body back to my mother, she was the one who saved me. Again, she had saved me time and time again. How could I just abandon her now? Mom, please listen to me, I pleaded. It's not as bad as it sounds. Really? She shook her head, tears streaming down her face, and gripped my hand. We're not doing the treatment. Let's go home. I'm an old woman anyway. No matter how much treatment I get, I only have a few years left. You still have a long life ahead of you. Why waste the money? Her words were a punch to the gut. My road was likely shorter than hers. I owed her so much. If I couldn't repay her before I died, I would never rest in peace. Don't worry, Mom. With treatment, you can get better. And don't you remember all the money we've saved over the years? I have savings. Plus, with insurance, it won't be that much. I tried everything to reassure her, to make her believe the financial burden was manageable. But the worry in her eyes remained. She was always afraid of being a burden to me. But I saw the bills, she whispered. So much money. It's not like you said. That's before the insurance kicks in. I improvised. And we can apply for catastrophic coverage. You know how good the programs are these days. She sighed deeply, shaking her head again. No, I'm going home. You can't. I played my last card. Mom, would you really leave me? You're all I have in this world. If you go, how am I supposed to live? The person who loved me most was already gone. All that was left was a family built on lies. My mother looked at me, her face crumpling, and fresh tears streamed down her cheeks. How could I leave you? She sobbed. How could I? Seeing her pain, I couldn't hold back my own tears. We stood there in the hospital room, clinging to each other and crying. In this vast, cold world, we were all each other had. After I finally calmed her down and tucked her into bed, I went straight to the doctor's office. Mr. Vance, we can't delay this any longer. We need to decide on a treatment plan and start immediately. As I told you before, her condition is aggressive. If we can get it under control now, there's a good chance. Thank you, doctor, I said, my voice desperate. I'll figure something out. Can you please just schedule it? Start the process. I knew that the longer a patient waited, the more their morale would sink. It wasn't just the disease, it was the mental toll. The doctor looked sympathetic, but firm. I'd like to, but your account is empty. We have to follow hospital policy. I report to my superiors. I grab his arm. Please schedule it now. I promise. I will have the money by noon tomorrow. I swear it. Please believe me. I would not let my mother miss this chance. I would do anything, even if it cost me my own life. He hesitated, then sighed. All right, but get the funds here as soon as you can. I had just stepped out of his office when my phone rang. It was Isabelle. I took a second to compose myself before answering. What is it? I asked. Where are you? She demanded. I had to run an errand. An errand? Do you have any idea that you are on the clock right now? Get back here. Now. I want to see you in 10 minutes. Before I could say another word, she hung up. I had no choice but to race back to the office. She was waiting for me on the sidewalk in front of the building. Leaving your post during work hours. That's a $500 deduction. She tossed a briefcase at me. The Apex Club. I have a contract to sign. I caught it, and we drove off, the car once again filled with a heavy silence. She stared out the window, her face unreadable. I rehearsed the words in my head, over and over, trying to find the right way to say what I had to say. I knew how it would sound. Absurd, shameless, utterly outrageous. My driving was erratic. I was so lost in thought that I kept braking too hard, nearly rear-ending the car in front of us multiple times. What are you trying to do, kill me? Isabelle snapped. Is that your plan? A murder-suicide, so I'll finally leave you alone? Don't worry, I'll chase you all the way to hell. I took a deep breath. Sorry, I'm just a little tired. Tired? You seem to be sleeping soundly enough last night. Her words hit me like a splash of cold water. She had been in my room last night. So, Ms. Reed still has a habit of watching people sleep. I'll be sure to lock my door from now on. She used to do that when we were together, sneaking in to watch me sleep. I always caught her. This time, I must have been too exhausted. But why was she in my room? A cold smile touched her lips. You should lock it. I might not be able to resist grabbing a knife from the kitchen and paying you a visit in the middle of the night. I just shook my head, a bitter taste in my mouth. Thanks for the warning. Her words were meant as a joke, a cruel one, but the sadness they carried was real. I finally worked up the nerve as she was about to get out of the car at the club. Ms. Reed, I said, stopping her. I need to ask you for a favor. It took all the courage I had to say those words. She turned, her expression one of utter disbelief. You have the audacity to ask me for a favor? Who gave you the right? She was right. I had no right. I had abandoned her, and now I was crawling back to her, begging. It was indefensible. But for my mother, I had to try, Even if all I got was her scorn, her ridicule, even if she ground my dignity into the dust. If it could save my mother's life, what did any of that matter? My own broken body didn't have much time left anyway. I had to fight for her. I gritted my teeth. Can you advance me a year's salary? It's an emergency. Isabelle laughed, a sharp, incredulous sound. Are you out of your mind? Or have you completely forgotten what you did? She started to walk away. I moved to block her path. It's a real emergency. She glared at me, her voice like ice. Get out of my way. I have a contract to sign. And even if you have an emergency, what does that have to do with me? I took a deep breath, my gaze unwavering. I know this sounds crazy, but I really need the money. After this, you can do whatever you want to me. I won't say a word. Whatever you want. If you're worried, I'll sign a contract, a life-and-death contract. Once I have the money, my life is yours. You can do whatever you want with it. Isabelle grabbed my collar, her knuckles white. Have you forgotten what you did to me? If you don't remember, I can help you recall. Her face was a mask of fury, her eyes filled with nothing but hate. I knew. Of course, I knew how much pain she had been in, how deep the wound I had inflicted, and I knew how much she hated me for it now. I know, I whispered. I'm sorry. I am truly, sincerely sorry. My apology did nothing to soften her. If anything, her expression grew colder. A few words of apology can erase years of pain. You say you're sorry, and I'm supposed to forgive you. She shoved me away, her eyes blazing with a hatred so intense it was chilling. You want my forgiveness? Fine, you can have it. Her voice dropped to a whisper. When you're dead. When I'm dead. Only then would the hatred in her heart be satisfied. A strange, hollow sadness filled me. The person I had risked my life to save now wanted me dead. Fine, I said, my voice flat. If you want my life, you can take it any time. But I really need this money. She looked at me, her eyes narrowed in suspicion. You really haven't changed, have you? You're trying to trick me again, take my money, and disappear. Do you think I'm a fool? Or are you just that arrogant? Trying to pull the same trick twice. Last time you scammed your father. This time you're trying to scam me. I had no answer for that. Seeing my silence, she spat. Leo Vance, you'll never change. A dog will always return to its vomit. But this time, I won't fall for it. Now get in here. If you don't, you can kiss your salary goodbye. I had no choice but to follow her inside. The business dinner went smoothly enough. When came time for drinks, Isabelle played her card. Oh, Mr. Wagner, I'm so sorry, she said, placing a delicate hand on her stomach. My stomach has been acting up lately. This is my new assistant. Would it be all right if he drank on my behalf? Mr. Wagner, a portly man in his 50s, glanced at me and chuckled. Of course, Ms. Reed. If you're not feeling well, I wouldn't want to force you. I knew this was Isabelle's plan all along, but I had to go along with it. Unfortunately, it seemed Mr. Wagner had his own issues with Isabelle. He cornered me, relentlessly pushing drinks on me. Come on, Leo, my boy. Let's have another. Just one more. The alcohol burned in my stomach, the pain growing more intense with each glass. A cold sweat broke out on my forehead. I'm sorry, Mr. Wagner. I finally managed to say, my voice strained. I'm really not much of a drinker. Maybe we should stop. Wagner glanced at Isabelle, his tone petulant. Your assistant here doesn't seem to know his place. Isabelle's gaze was like ice. Mr. Wagner is drinking with you as a courtesy. Drink up. But I have to drive you home later. There are services for that. You don't need to worry. Just make sure Mr. Wagner is happy. I didn't know if she could see the pain on my face, or if she saw it and simply didn't care. I clenched my jaw and forced myself to keep drinking, to keep smiling, until the pain became unbearable. I excused myself, stumbling to the restroom. I hunched over the sink, my stomach churning. After a few minutes of violent retching, the world started to come back into focus. I splashed cold water on my face and took a few deep breaths, feeling a bit more human. As I walked back down the hallway, I ran straight into Cassandra Frost. She looked surprised to see me. My face was flushed from the alcohol, and the smell of whiskey probably clung to me like a second skin. What are you doing here? She asked, an amused smirk on her face. And drinking this much? I felt a surge of embarrassment. I'm here with Ms. Reed for a business meeting. Ms. Reed? You don't mean Isabelle Reed, do you? I nodded, and Cassandra burst out laughing. That woman, the way she treated you last time, I thought you two were mortal enemies. And now she has you working for her. She stepped closer, her scent expensive and cloying, filling the space between us. She reached out and lightly tilted my chin up with her finger. Tell me, what is she paying you? Why don't you quit and come work for me? I'll double it. What do you say? Her gaze was heavy, suggestive. I knew exactly what she was thinking. I wasn't bad-looking, and to women like her, I was just a new toy, something to play with until the novelty wore off. I instinctively took a step back, creating distance between us. I'm sorry. I signed a contract. I can't break it. I don't have the money to pay the penalty. Cassandra just smiled and closed the distance again. That's easy. Tell me how much it is, and I'll pay it for you. All you have to do is come with me, be a good boy, and you'll have everything you want. Cars, houses, just name your price. As long as it's not outrageous, I can make it happen. As she spoke, her hand came to rest lightly on my chest. The offer was tempting, so tempting it made my head spin. But I knew there was no such thing as a free lunch. When I didn't answer, her smile tightened. What did Isabelle use to bewitch you? Or is she paying you more than I am? I forced a weak laugh. Not at all. Not everyone is as generous as you, Ms. Frost. Her smile returned, triumphant this time. In that case, name your price. But do it quickly. My patience is limited. It wouldn't be hard to find someone even better looking than you. 100,000 a month? 200? Just say the word. The numbers she threw out were staggering. It was more money than I could dream of. A month or two with her could solve all my problems. To women like her, it was nothing. But I knew the game. Once they got what they wanted, once they were bored, they would discard you without a second thought. By then, I would be worthless. But I had no other choice. I don't need money, I said, my voice low. I need it badly. Are you serious about being able to help me? Cassandra nodded eagerly. Of course. There's nothing I can't do, as long as you can name it. But first, I need to hear your terms. It's all about a fair exchange, isn't it? If Isabelle wouldn't help me, then I had to turn to her. Even if it meant breaking my contract. Even if it meant Isabelle would hate me even more, or look down on me with renewed contempt. Since you're being so sincere, it would be rude of me to refuse, I said. I do need money, urgently. If you can help me, I will be at your disposal from now on. Her eyes lit up with a predatory gleam. Tell me, how much do you need? I took a deep breath. I need $2 million, and I need it all at once. In return, I will be yours for a year. You can even have my life if you want it. #### a year. That was about all I had left anyway. Once I had paid my debts, I would have no regrets. I could pay for my mother's treatment and leave her with enough money to live comfortably. I finished speaking and looked at Cassandra, waiting for her answer. She considered it for a moment, then laughed. $2 million. Her laugh was strange, as if she thought the price was too high, but was unwilling to let me go. Why should Isabelle Reed get to have such a handsome man? Are you sure? If you are, then I'll have to go talk to Ms. Reed about acquiring her property. Just as I was about to agree, Isabelle's voice cut through the air from behind me. Cassandra, are you trying to poach my employee? She had appeared out of nowhere and was now standing right beside us. Are you really offering that much to steal him away? Is he truly worth it? Her voice was filled with contempt. Cassandra, caught in the act, gave a nervous laugh. I didn't realize you were here, Isabelle. Well, since you were, this makes things easier. Why don't you just let me have him? I'll make sure to throw a good project your way next time. I stood between them, feeling like an object being haggled over. But what could I do? I was powerless. Isabelle's cold eyes settled on me. Cassandra wants you. What do you think? She was seemingly giving me the choice, but I knew she was testing me. I met her gaze and spoke slowly. It's rare to be appreciated by someone like Ms. Frost, and for such a generous price. It would solve all my problems. An offer that good. How could I not be tempted? Isabelle's face didn't change, but a cold, humorless smile touched her lips. You really will do anything for money, won't you? A little bit of cash, and you're bought and sold. I shrugged. Of course. That amount of money is more than I could earn in years of working. And if I go with Ms. Frost, I won't have to worry about the future. My nonchalant words were met with a sharp, stinging slap across the face. The sound echoed in the quiet hallway. It was so sudden and forceful that I saw stars, and my cheek immediately started to burn. Even Cassandra looked shocked. Isabelle's voice trembled with rage. Have you already forgotten who your master is? I haven't even agreed to this, and you're already planning your future. Do you really think you're good enough for Ms. Frost? She couldn't believe it. That for money, I would actually consider going with Cassandra. That for money, I had no bottom line, no dignity left. Her eyes, cold and filled with a deep, chilling anger, bored into mine. For money, you'd even sell your soul, wouldn't you? My voice was calm, a stark contrast to the storm raging inside me. My soul? What's that? Can I eat it? Right now, I need money. Whoever pays the most, I'll go with them. Whoever gives me money is my master. ####. The thought of my mother, lying in a hospital bed, needing money I didn't have, made my voice rise with desperation. I told you, I need money, urgently. If you can't give it to me, then I have to find someone who can. If you think I'm so worthless, then why don't you just let me go? Why do you keep torturing me? Cassandra, seeing the situation escalating, stepped between us. Leo, why do you need so much money? Are you in some kind of trouble? If you are, just tell Isabelle. She wouldn't refuse to help. She turned to Isabelle. Isabelle, you're the vice chair of the city's charity foundation. If he's in trouble, you should just help him. What trouble could he be in? Isabelle sneered. He's a gambling addict. He probably needs the money to pay off his debts. Her voice was laced with venom. Last time he scammed a fortune, took the money, and vanished. He's just trying to pull the same trick again. At her words, Cassandra's expression changed instantly. So that's the kind of person you are. I'm glad you showed up, Isabelle. I would have been scammed too. You two can sort this out yourselves. I'm leaving. With that, Cassandra turned and walked away, leaving me alone with Isabelle. A sense of defeat washed over me. It's not for gambling this time, I said, my voice barely a whisper. It's not for anything like that. I really need the money. Please believe me this one time. Isabelle let out a short, harsh laugh. Fine. You want me to believe you? Go to my mother's grave. Kneel there for a day and a night. Then, maybe I'll consider it. As she spoke, I could see her body trembling, her hands clenched into tight fists. I couldn't see her face, but the raw hatred in her voice was unmistakable. When we were together, her mother had treated me like her own son. She never cared about my background, never looked down on me for having nothing. She had even planned to help me. But when she was sick, hospitalized, I hadn't visited her once. I had vanished. Isabelle had every right to hate me for that. Okay, I said. I'll go. If it will erase some of your hatred, I'll kneel until you're satisfied. A choked, bitter laugh escaped her. Until I'm satisfied? Do you think you only hurt me? Do you remember how good my mother was to you? She was ready to hand the company over to you. But you left when she was critically ill, when I needed you the most. Her mother was a wound in her heart that had never healed. And because of that pain, she now had only hate. In those first few days after her family's company collapsed, I had disappeared. She had thought I was just busy, and she had waited for me, holding on to hope. But a week passed with no word, no call, no text. People told her I had run away, that I was afraid of being dragged down with her family. In a crisis, everyone connected to them was scrambling to cut ties. Why would I, a young man with a promising career, get entangled in their mess? She hadn't believed them. He's not like that, she had insisted. I trust him. He must have a reason. She had trusted me, against all odds. But then, a week later, she received a text from me. A brutal, heartless message cutting all ties. Every word was a knife to the heart. Even then, she had tried to call me, to hear it from my own lips, but I had already blocked her number. None of our mutual friends could reach me. It was as if I had vanished from the face of the earth. Only then did she finally accept the truth. I had abandoned her. ####. At her lowest point, I had thrown her away, given up on her, and simply disappeared. And just as she was grappling with this betrayal, the hospital called with bad news about her mother. She didn't have time to process my disappearance. She rushed to the hospital, dividing her time between her mother's bedside and the collapsing company. She endured the hardest, most helpless days of her life, all alone. You hurt my mother, she whispered, her voice thick with unshed tears. You betrayed her faith in you. Go see if she can forgive you. Her red-rimmed eyes were like a physical blow, making it hard to breathe. The pain was sharp, visceral, but I couldn't tell her the truth. If she knew, how could she bear it? How could she live with that knowledge for the rest of her life? It was better this way. I didn't have much time left anyway. I would take the secret to my grave. I forced my own emotions down. You're right. I was wrong. I'm willing to go and beg for her forgiveness. Whether she forgives me or not, I have to go to her grave and atone. Isabelle turned her face away, her voice cold. Then go. Kneel for a day and a night. If you can still stand up and face me after that, I'll buy your worthless life. She walked away without another word. I followed her out of the club. Outside, a heavy rain had started to fall, a torrential downpour that soaked the city. She stood at the entrance, pulling out her phone to call her assistant. Come pick me up. I stepped out from under the awning, letting the rain soak me. What you said just now. I called out to her. Did you mean it? She turned, and I moved closer, standing fully in the rain. The water quickly drenched my clothes, running in streams down my face. We stood there, staring at each other. Her face was a mask, her dark eyes unreadable. After a long moment, she spoke, her voice flat. Since you're willing to trade your life for money, fine. I'll grant your wish. Why set stance? Go kneel until tomorrow night. I stood in the downpour, watching her. Even through the sheet of rain, I could see the hardness in her eyes. All right, I said. I hope you'll keep your word, Miss Reed. With that, I turned and walked out into the rain, heading straight for the cemetery where Isabelle's mother was buried. It was late, and the rain was relentless, but I knelt before the headstone without hesitation. If I hadn't been so foolish, if I hadn't believed Robert Vance's lies, would things have turned out differently? I cursed my own stupidity. The rain plastered my clothes to my skin, and a deep chill settled into my bones. I don't know how long I knelt there in the darkness, but I took out my phone and sent Isabelle a short video. "I'm here, just as you asked," I messaged her. "I hope you keep your end of the bargain." I put the phone away in an inside pocket and settled in to wait, the only living soul in the silent, rain-swept cemetery. I thought I could endure it. I had survived so much worse. I had survived being left for dead. Surely I could survive this. Just one more trial, I told myself. After this, whatever happened, I would accept it. Time stretched on. The rain soaked through to my bones. The wind picked up, and I started to shiver uncontrollably. The familiar, gnawing pain in my stomach started up again. I fumbled in my pocket for my painkillers. Thank God I had them with me. I swallowed a few dry, hoping they would take the edge off. But the pain in my knees, pressed against the hard, cold stone, was a different story. My legs started to go numb. My mind grew fuzzy. I didn't know how much longer I could last. I started pinching my thigh, trying to use the sharp sting to stay awake. But my body was too weak. I don't know how long I knelt. The rain would stop, then start again, a cruel, endless cycle. My clothes would begin to dry, only to be soaked through again. My body grew colder and colder. The pain, the cold, the exhaustion, it all began to blur together. My vision darkened at the edges, and I pitched forward, my body too frozen to react. My forehead slammed into the corner of the stone step in front of the grave. The sharp, searing pain was like a bolt of lightning, jolting me back to consciousness. I pushed myself up, a warm liquid trickling down my face. I touched my forehead, and my fingers came away stained with red. I looked down and saw a smear of blood on the stone. I quickly pulled a handkerchief from my pocket and pressed it to the wound, not daring to let go. The rain mixed with the blood, dripping in large, crimson drops onto the ground in front of me. Pain, dizziness, and a profound, bone-deep cold enveloped me. I don't know how much time passed. The sky began to lighten. The cut on my forehead had scabbed over. I was still kneeling, my body a block of ice, when I was startled by voices. A few early morning visitors had arrived. They were staring at me, whispering among themselves, but no one approached. A cemetery groundskeeper eventually came over and tried to get me to leave, but I made up an excuse, and he eventually gave up. I just had to hold on a little longer. If I could do this, if Isabelle's anger could be soothed even a little, maybe my mother would have a chance. As the day wore on, the sun came out, hot and unforgiving. My clothes dried on my body. Thankfully, a large tree behind the grave offered some shade. I swayed on my knees, my mind drifting in and out of a hazy, delirious state. Just then, my phone rang. It was Isabelle. I was surprised. I thought for a moment that she had softened, but her first words were to tell me to give up. For my mother, that was impossible. "Thank you, Ms. Reed," I said, my voice hoarse. "Just have the money ready." I ended the call. My mind drifted back to the past, to the first time I met Isabelle at a freshman orientation event. A single glance, and we were drawn to each other. Our love story wasn't some grand, dramatic affair. It was quiet, gentle, but profound. We had the same dreams, the same ambitions. We supported each other, encouraged each other. Thinking about it now, those memories were sweeter than ever. And also more absurd, the life I had given up everything for, I was now trading what was left of my life to get back. Life really is a circle. There was a moment when I thought I couldn't go on. I was so close to passing out, to just letting go. I fell several times, losing consciousness for a few moments before forcing myself back up. I kept this up until night fell again. The darkness returned, and I knew I had won. But I had nothing left. My strength was gone. The world went black, and I collapsed. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag. When I woke up, I was in a hospital room. I didn't know how much time had passed. I shot upright in bed. My best friend, Mark Davis, was sitting in a chair beside me. He jumped up when he saw I was awake. "Leo, you're finally awake. Man, you scared the hell out of me." I was confused. "What are you doing here?" He pulled out his phone and showed me a video. Someone had filmed me at the cemetery and posted it online. Mark had seen it and recognized me. He had rushed over just in time to see me pass out. He'd been the one to bring me here. I mumbled my thanks and tried to get out of bed. I had to find Isabelle. My mother's treatment couldn't wait. But Mark stopped me. "Whoa, where do you think you're going? Kneeling at a grave like that? What's going on?" I didn't want him to know about my past. "It's just some personal business," I said vaguely. "It's fine. Once this is over, Everything will be okay. I threw back the covers, but he grabbed my arm and pulled me back. No, you're not going anywhere. You're staying right here and getting better. I glanced at the clock on the wall. It was almost midnight. If I didn't show up, I wouldn't get the money. No, I have to go. I really do. I'll be right back. I tried to pull my arm free, but his grip was like iron. You're not going anywhere. I really have to go. I can't be late. I pleaded, but he just yanked me back onto the bed. Leo, do you have any idea what kind of shape you're in? If you go out there now, you'll die. Do you understand me? Mark's eyes were red. For the first time, I saw this big, tough guy cry. And in that moment, I knew. He knew. But it didn't matter. I had to go. If I didn't, what would happen to my mother? I had nothing else left. This was the last thing I could do for her. Mark, please believe me. I have to do this. I'll tell you everything when I get back. I swung my legs over the side of the bed, but the moment my feet touched the floor, the room spun, and I collapsed, my body weak and aching. Mark rushed to help me up, his voice trembling. You're like this, and you still want to go somewhere? What is so important that you're willing to die for it? I know everything, Leo. You don't have to hide it from me anymore. He had found out. When he brought me in, my condition was so bad that the doctors had pulled up my old records. When they told him my diagnosis, he had just stood there, stunned. The doctor, he had stammered. I know him, another doctor had said. He was here about a month ago. He's been delaying treatment. His mother is also a patient here. He's been opting for palliative care for himself. That's when Mark finally understood. Why I was working multiple jobs, why I was pushing myself to the brink. I had been carrying this weight all by myself. You need to convince him to get treatment, the doctor had told him. He's so young. When he came back to my room and saw me lying there, unconscious, my face gaunt, my lips cracked, he had broken down and cried. He had always known me as the happy-go-lucky guy, the one who was always smiling. I never talked about my past, but he had often caught me staring off into space, lost in thought. Now he finally understood the hell I had been living in. You've been going through all this, and you didn't say a word to me, he said now, his voice thick with grief. You don't consider me your brother? Your mom is sick, a huge thing like that, and you don't tell me. And you, your body. I looked at him, a lump forming in my throat. I knew he was right, but what could I do? Life and death were not my choices to make. I know you're trying to help me, I said, my voice hoarse. But if I don't get there before midnight, I won't get the money for my mother's treatment. Mark stared at me, his face a mask of disbelief. What do you mean? Who are you meeting? You knelt at that grave for a whole day and night for your mother's medical bills. He was incredulous. She's not trying to help you. A condition like that, she's trying to kill you. I know. You know, and you still did it? Is it worth it? I couldn't meet his eyes. It's worth it. I owe her. His eyes reddened again. But what about you? What about you? Me? I managed a bitter smile. In this world, there were only those who hated me and those who wanted me dead. I had nothing left to live for. Some things. I'll tell you later, I said. It's not the right time, but I need you to promise me something. Don't tell anyone about this. And I mean anyone. He didn't answer, just looked at me, his mind clearly struggling to comprehend how I was dealing with all this. Who was I trying to protect? You have to promise me, I insisted. No matter what happens, you can't say a word. Otherwise, I can't be your friend anymore. He saw the desperation in my eyes and finally, reluctantly, turned away. After a long moment, he turned back. What do you need to go? I'll take you. I looked at the clock. I could still make it. He handed me his jacket and a helmet and a warm paper bag. Eat something. Tell me the address. I'll get you there. I took the bag. It was a burger. As I took a bite, the savory taste filled my mouth, and my eyes suddenly stung with tears. I quickly shoved the rest of the burger in my mouth and pulled on the helmet, hiding my face before he could see. The night wind was cold, but for the first time in a long time, my heart felt a flicker of warmth. Isabelle had been on edge all day. By the time she finished her work and left the hotel, it was already dark. She checked the time. The deadline had passed, and I hadn't shown up. I knew he didn't have it in him, she said to her assistant, Evans. You were wrong about him. Evans looked worried, but didn't say anything, just drove her home. As I pulled up to her villa, I stepped out from the shadows where I'd been waiting and blocked the car. Mark had dropped me off, but security wouldn't let me in. He told me she wasn't home yet, so I waited. I was still weak and in pain, but I forced myself to stand, to wait for her. The moment I saw her car, I used the last of my strength to run out in front of it. The car screeched to a halt. Ma'am, it's him, Evans said. After a long moment, Isabelle got out of the car. She looked at me, her face impassive. You're late. I knew she would say that. I pulled out my phone. You can check the security footage from the cemetery. I was there until the very last minute. Mark, who had been waiting with me, couldn't hold back his anger. He did exactly what you asked. He collapsed at the grave. If I hadn't gotten there when I did, who knows where he'd be right now? How can you go back on your word? This is just cruel. Isabelle glanced at Mark, a cold smile on her lips. Cruel? You ask him. Did I force him? Did I demand this? He did it of his own free will. If he had died, I wouldn't have shed a single tear. Her words were so shocking that Mark was speechless. How can you say something like that? I quickly grabbed Mark's arm, signaling for him to stop. He shook me off, his voice rising in fury. Leo, she's obviously just messing with you. Can't you see that? If she really wanted to give you the money, would she have made you do something so insane? She's trying to kill you. Isabelle just laughed. He's right. I'm just messing with you. It seems you're smarter than him. He's the one who's always deluding himself. Her cold, contemptuous gaze settled on me. I felt a surge of anger, but I pushed it down. Isabelle, I'm not joking. I need this money, and I did what you asked. Even though Mark brought me here, I knelt until the very end. This isn't for gambling, and it's not a trick. I really, truly need this money. She looked at me, her expression unyielding. Then tell me, what do you need it for? Tell me, and I'll consider it. If you don't tell me, you won't get a cent. Her tone was final, leaving no room for negotiation. But I couldn't tell her. Even if she knew about my mother, what would happen? Would she soften? Unlikely. Anyone connected to me could be dying at her feet, and she probably wouldn't bat an eye. I still can't tell you, I said, my voice firm. But I need the money. You should keep your word. I stared at her, a wave of anger rising in me. The gentle, kind person I remembered was gone, replaced by this cold, ruthless stranger. Seeing my defiance, her expression grew even colder. Let me be clear. You are the one begging me, not the other way around. Whether you tell me or not is your business. She turned to get back in the car. I stepped in front of her again. What will it take for you to believe me? What will it take for you to give me the money? I've already told you what it will take. You're the one who's refusing. I stared at her, a war raging inside me. If I told her, the truth about the past would come out. Seeing my hesitation, a flicker of disappointment crossed her face. Fine, don't tell me. But answer me this. For this money, are you willing to die? She stared at me, waiting for my answer. If this was what she needed to hear, then I would give it to her. Yes, I said, my voice clear and steady. If my life is the price for this money, then I'm willing to pay it. Isabelle looked at me, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. What, or who, could possibly make me go to such lengths? Is it for someone else, she asked, her voice sharp, or for yourself? I want the truth. If you lie to me, I'll make sure you never leave Seacrest City alive. I knew she could do it. Her power in this city was something I could only dream of. I met her gaze. It's for someone else. She seemed taken aback by my answer. Then, as if a thought occurred to her, a strange, bitter smile touched her lips. A woman. Yes, a woman. My confirmation made her eyes widen almost imperceptibly. It was as if this was a possibility she had never considered. A look of suspicion crossed her face, quickly replaced by a sneer of contempt and a flicker of something that looked like resentment. She took a deep breath, as if she had finally pieced something together. Is she dying? Or does she have some terminal illness? You must love her very much to be willing to do this for her. To be willing to die. Her words were uncanny. She had guessed everything correctly, but I couldn't reveal any more. She's sick, I said simply. She needs the money. There's no other way. Everything I've told you is the truth. I knew that if I said nothing, her curiosity would drive her to keep pushing, to keep testing me. My confirmation seemed to be the final blow. Her face grew even harder. She couldn't believe that I, of all people, could be capable of such devotion. The cheater, the scoundrel she believed me to be. How could I possibly do something like this for another woman? And then, she seemed to understand. Leo Vance was capable of love. He just didn't love her. Since you're willing to die for someone else, she said, her voice dangerously quiet, then you can die for me. What do you mean? You want my help? Fine, but you have to pay the price. Show me your sincerity. Before I could respond, she snatched the car keys from her assistant's hand. Stand right there. Don't move. If you move an inch, you can forget about the money. She got into the car, started the engine, and then slammed it into reverse. You think you're so tough? Then let's see you stand there while I run you over. If you take one step, you can get lost. I understood immediately what she intended to do. Her assistant, Evans, broke out in a cold sweat. He ran to the car window. Ma'am, please calm down. You could kill him. Isabelle just shot him a look that could freeze fire. If you say one more word on his behalf, you can pack your bags and get out. Evans backed away, his face pale with fear. He looked at me, his eyes wide with panic. Mr. Vance, maybe you should think of another way. You know how angry she is with you. You're just walking right into the line of fire. This is suicide. He was right. But I had no other choice. In this city, Isabelle was a force of nature. If she didn't want me to get help, I wouldn't get it. Any other path I tried to take, she would block. Thank you, I said quietly, but I'm out of options. Mark rushed to my side, trying to pull me away. Leo, she's crazy. She's trying to kill you, he yelled, but I pushed him away. I know, I said, my voice calm, but I really need the money. This is my last chance. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag. I had no other chances. No one was more desperate, more helpless than I was right now. My mother's condition was a ticking clock. I had to get that money. This was a race against death. Every minute I bought was another minute of hope for her. Isabelle revved the engine, the sound of visceral roar in the quiet night. My phone rang. It was her. I'm giving you one last chance, she said, her voice distorted by the phone and the engine's growl. Run or die. Come on, I said, my voice steady. I won't move. Just promise me you'll keep your word. If I die, give the money to Mark. I looked at my friend. If I'm gone, please take care of my mother for me. I'll be grateful to you, wherever I am. Mark's eyes filled with tears. Damn it, Leo. You take care of her yourself. I smiled at him, then turned my gaze back to the car. I closed my eyes. I had signed her contract. Whatever happened now, she wouldn't be held responsible. Mark, seeing the resolve in my eyes, tried to rush forward and pull me away, but Evans held him back. Calm down. If you go out there now and something happens, it'll be two of you. Mark could only watch, helpless. Leo, get out of the way. Move, he screamed. But Isabelle didn't slow down. She floored the accelerator. The engine screamed, and the car shot forward, a missile aimed directly at me. I stood there with my eyes closed, hearing nothing but the roar of the engine and Mark's desperate cries. I didn't have much time left anyway, to die by her hand. It seemed a fitting end. Maybe then, she could finally let go. The car was getting closer. Everyone held their breath. And then, a screech of tires tearing at the pavement. The car stopped just inches from me. I opened my eyes. Isabelle was in the driver's seat, staring at me, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. Mark let out a sob of relief and ran to my side. Leo, are you okay? I didn't answer him. I just stared at the car, at the woman inside. Another few inches, another fraction of a second, and it would have been a different ending. Isabelle sat in the driver's seat, her foot jammed on the brake, her chest heaving as she tried to catch her breath. She hadn't expected it. She hadn't expected me to just stand there, unflinching, ready to die. Our eyes met. It was impossible to read the emotions swirling in their depths. I had once been unable to bear the thought of her shedding a single tear, and now I had turned her into this cold, cruel person. But I didn't hate her for it. I couldn't. Everything she had been through was because of me. After a long moment, I looked away. She got out of the car and walked toward me. Do you regret it? She asked, her voice raw. Do you regret leaving me? She stared at me, searching for an answer I couldn't give. I looked away. No, I've never regretted it. The light in her eyes died. I saw the tears welling up and had to fight every instinct to reach out and wipe them away. Her voice was a hoarse whisper. She pulled a card from her wallet. Good. I have the answer I needed. You can have the money. But from now on, your life is mine. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag. She threw the card at my feet. PIN is 6 6s. There's 2 million in there. You have 1 week to take care of your business. Then you cut off all ties with her. She tossed the keys to Evans and walked past me without a backward glance. From now on, whether you live or die is up to me. If you can't cut ties with her, you will never be free of me. The card lay on the ground, a small, light piece of plastic that felt impossibly heavy. I knelt and picked it up, my body suddenly feeling drained of all strength. A whole day and night without rest, without food, without water, and now this. I felt like I was about to collapse. Mark saw the look on my face and rushed to my side, grabbing my arm to steady me. Leo, are you okay? If you're not feeling well, we need to get you back to the hospital. I leaned on him, grateful for the support. Take me back to the hospital, I said, my voice weak. I have to get this money deposited. Mark shook his head. First, I'm taking you back to your room. You need to sleep. You can deal with this tomorrow. It's the middle of the night. The billing office is closed. I was too exhausted to argue. I let him lead me back to my hospital cot. A doctor checked me over, started in 4, and Mark went to get me something to eat. After all that, I finally fell into a deep, dreamless sleep. The soft bed was a world away from the cold, hard ground and the driving rain. I dreamt I was back where Isabelle and I first met. The memories came flooding back, so vivid it felt real. She was standing in front of me, more beautiful than ever, her eyes shining with a fierce, unwavering love. We were reliving all our best moments, our vows to each other, the places we'd explored, the sunsets we'd watched. A photographer was taking our picture. She was leaning against me, her smile radiant. She held a bouquet of flowers and looked up at me. Leo, will you love me forever and ever? With your whole life, as much as you love your own life, and always be true to me. But before I could answer, her face contorted into a mask of rage. No, you won't. You're a liar. She produced a knife from nowhere and plunged it into my chest. The pain was so real it stole my breath. I looked at her, my eyes wide with shock. Why? Her gaze was merciless. Because I hate you, she said, her voice a low snarl. I want you to die. The hatred in her eyes was a chilling, physical thing. But through it, I thought I saw a flicker of her own pain, her own sorrow. Then, darkness swallowed us both. I woke with a jolt, my body drenched in sweat, gasping for air. It was just a dream. Nothing had happened. It was all just a dream. The next morning, I went straight to my mother's doctor and deposited the money into her account. Doctor, please, schedule her treatment as soon as possible. The funds are all there. He nodded. We'll get right on it. But you need to make sure you keep her spirits up. A wave of relief washed over me. I went to my mother's room. She was shocked when she saw me. Leo, you're so thin. What happened? My illness had taken its toll, and the lack of rest had left me looking gaunt and exhausted. It's nothing, Mom, I lied. I was just up late playing video games last night. She sighed, a mixture of relief and exasperation. You're a grown man. You need to take care of yourself. I know, Mom. I won't do it again. Her mood seemed to stabilize. I gave some instructions to the aide and then went back to my own room. Isabelle had given me a week to cut ties with my mother, but that was impossible. I couldn't just not see her. I called Isabelle. She sounded surprised to hear from me. What is it? Are you done already? No, it's something else. Her tone immediately soured, then spit it out. I took a breath. I'm grateful that you lent me the money. I really am, but I can't cut off contact with her. Her voice exploded with rage. Huh, you take the money and then go back on your word. That's just like you. It's not what you think. The money was for my mother's medical bills. You know my family situation. My mother is sick. I can't leave her. My explanation fell on deaf ears. Leo Vance, are you even a man? You'll stoop to anything to get money. You'd even make up a story about your mother being sick. Do you really think I believe you? She refused to listen, instead giving me an ultimatum. I'm giving you 1 day. You will be back here tomorrow. If I don't see you, you know what the consequences will be. Before I could say another word, she hung up. Isabelle sat in her office, fuming. After a few minutes, she called her assistant. I want you to run a check on Leo Vance, or find an excuse to ask him where he is. I want to know if this woman he's talking about is really his mother. When Evans called me, I was surprised. Send me your address. I need to talk to you about something. He was vague, just saying he needed to see me, so I gave him the hospital's address. But Evans didn't come to see me. Instead, he used his connections to find out which room my mother was in. He observed us for a while, confirming our relationship, and then called Isabelle. Ma'am, it's true. Leo's mother is a patient here. I think he really did need the money for an emergency. That's why he... Isabelle hung up before he could finish. For a long time, she just sat there silent. Had she really misjudged him? But even if she had, it was someone else's mother who was sick. It had nothing to do with her. The debt between them was not so easily erased. My kindness, my charity, in her eyes, it was for others, never for her. Her heart twisted with a confusing mix of emotions, anxiety, conflict, and a fresh wave of anger. I could be good to anyone. Why was I only cruel to her? As she was wrestling with her thoughts, the office door opened and Ethan walked in, carrying a takeout container. He noticed her mood immediately. What's wrong? You don't look happy. Is there a problem at the company? Isabelle shook her head. It's just some complicated business. You know how competitive it is. Ethan came up behind her and placed his hands on her shoulders. Don't work too hard. Let me give you a massage. For some reason, his touch made her skin crawl. She flinched away. No, it's fine. I'm okay. You must be tired too. Have a seat. Seeing her rejection, Ethan dropped his hands. Ever since I had reappeared, he had felt Isabelle pulling away from him. He was afraid. He wasn't sure of her feelings for him. Isabelle, he said, trying a different tack. Why don't we move the engagement party up? I was looking at the calendar, and there are a few good dates coming up. She looked at him, surprised. The invitations have already been sent. Why would we change it? He shifted uncomfortably. No reason. I was just thinking that things at the company are about to get busy, and it might be rushed later on. But your father is there to help, isn't he? It shouldn't be a problem. It was clear she wasn't on board. Ethan grew more anxious. It would be better to just get it done, wouldn't it? She frowned. You're acting strange today. What's going on? He forced a laugh. Nothing. I'm just eager to be with you. He looked at her, his gaze intense, and she felt a fresh wave of unease. There's no need to rush things. He knew he couldn't push too hard. Okay, whatever you say. They discussed some of the details of the party. Suddenly, he asked, the guest list is final, right? No one else is coming. That's right. We confirmed the list last week. Seeing that my name wasn't on it, Ethan relaxed. He tried again. How about we take the engagement photos soon? The party is just a formality. We'll have to take them eventually for the wedding anyway. In his mind, the faster they went through the motions, the less chance there was for things to go wrong. But his suggestion just made Isabelle feel more pressured. She wasn't ready. In fact, she wasn't sure what she felt for Ethan at all. Every time they talked about marriage, she felt none of the excitement or anticipation a bride-to-be should feel. She had chosen him because he had been there for her at her lowest point when she had needed comfort. But was it gratitude or was it love? She couldn't tell the difference. And now, his sudden rush to get things done was making her even more anxious. I don't want to take the photos so soon. Her words stunned him. Was she having second thoughts? Is it because of what I said? Are you getting nervous? I'm sorry. I heard that some people get pre-wedding jitters. I wasn't thinking about your feelings. No, she interrupted. It's not that. I just don't think I have the time to do so much all at once. It feels like too much pressure. All his plans were being shot down. Ethan had no choice but to agree. Okay, we'll stick to the original plan. Don't worry about it. Isabelle looked exhausted. He took her hand. If you're ever tired or sad or unhappy, I'll always be here for you. He gave her a warm smile. It was that smile, those words, that had given him his chance in the first place. But since my return, that chance felt like it was slipping through his fingers. Thank you, she said quietly, for always being with me. He gently guided her head to his shoulder, but his own heart was in turmoil. He had thought that as long as he was by her side, no one else would have a chance. But now, I was back, and I was her driver. He felt a deep sense of crisis. Even though I had said I wouldn't do anything, he didn't trust me. Don't thank me, he said. Your happiness is my happiness. All these years, Isabelle had resisted any real intimacy. He had never pushed her. Their relationship consisted of dinners, conversations, walks, and the occasional hand-holding. They had never even kissed. To maintain his image, he had been a perfect gentleman. Now he finally understood why. All this time, she had never forgotten me. That was why she kept him at arm's length. Sensing his silence, Isabelle felt a pang of guilt. He had always been so patient with her. Maybe she should try to give more. But she couldn't bring herself to cross that line. How about, I go look at wedding dresses the day after tomorrow? She offered. It was a small concession, but he couldn't take it. Can we do it another day? I have to go out of town on business. It was scheduled a while ago. She thought for a moment. It's okay. I'll go look by myself first. You can come with me when you get back. All right, that works. Have Chloe go with you. Okay. ####. After getting things settled at the hospital, I went back to work as Isabelle's driver. The day I returned, her assistant, Evans, gave me the schedule. Ms. Reed is trying on wedding dresses today. Don't go anywhere. Just wait for her at the entrance. The word wedding dress was a knife to the heart. Okay, I said. I'll wait here. Soon, Isabelle came out of the building and got into the car. Her voice was as cold as ever. Go to Kingswood Avenue to pick someone up, then head to the bridal shop. Okay. I drove to the address she gave me and picked up Chloe. She was an old friend of ours from college, and she knew a little about what had happened between us. The moment she got in the car, she started talking. Izzy, are you really sure you want to marry Ethan? You don't seem very happy about it. Don't tell me you still have feelings for Leo Vance. Her words made Isabelle's face darken. I saw it in the rearview mirror. He's dead to me. Why would I care about a dead man? Chloe clenched her fists. You're right. He's a good-for-nothing cheater. If I ever see him again, I'll kick his ass for you. But it's a shame he just disappeared. Who knows what corner of the world he's hiding in? Chloe chattered on for the entire ride. Isabelle didn't say a word, just stared out the window. When we got to the shop, I opened the door for them. Chloe looked up, and her eyes met mine in the mirror. Her jaw dropped. You, Leo Vance. What are you doing here? You were just. Isabelle shot her a look. Let's go. What you saw was just a man without a soul. Not worth your time. I glanced at the bridal shop. Fate was cruel. Was I really going to have to watch the woman I love try on a wedding dress for another man? I had planned to wait in the car, but Isabelle called me in. Come in and help carry our things. They tossed their purses at me and went inside. The shop was filled with exquisite, custom-made gowns, each one more beautiful than the last. I stared at them, lost in thought. We had once dreamed of this day, planned our wedding, even picked out names for our children. We used to walk past shops like this, and she would always stop to look. If I wear that one, she would ask, her eyes shining. Will I be the most beautiful bride in the world? And I would ruffle her hair and say, of course you will. And I'll make you the happiest woman in the world. We were just college students then, full of dreams for the future. But fate had other plans. We never made it to the altar. And now, not only was I not the one marrying my beloved, I had to watch her prepare to marry someone else. ####. I was lost in my thoughts when Chloe's voice snapped me back to reality. Hey, Leo, get over here. We need some water. I brought them their drinks and then sat in a corner, waiting as they went into the dressing room. Soon, Isabelle came out in a stunning gown, asking Chloe for her opinion. Chloe immediately beckoned me over. Leo, get my purse. I want to take some pictures. As I approached them, the sight of Isabelle took my breath away. She looked like an angel. It was exactly as we had imagined all those years ago, her in a white wedding dress, standing before me. But this time, she was wearing it for someone else. I fought to keep my expression neutral and looked away, afraid she would see the pain in my eyes. Here's your bag, Miss Jiang. I handed her the purse and started to leave. But Chloe, sensing my unease, grabbed my arm. Wait a minute. Where are you rushing off to? I turned back. Is there something else, Ms. Jiang? A sarcastic smile played on her lips. I have a question for you. Do you think our Isabelle looks beautiful in her wedding dress? Isabelle, who had been adjusting the dress, froze and looked up at me. I knew this was a deliberate attempt to torment me. I kept my eyes averted. Of course, Ms. Reed would look good in anything. My answer clearly didn't satisfy Chloe. Her face hardened. Did you even look? You say she looks good without even glancing at her. That a bit lazy, don't you think? Isabelle, your employee isn't very dedicated. You should dock his pay. He can't even be bothered to put any effort into his flattery. Isabelle stood there, her face a thundercloud. She couldn't believe I hadn't even looked at her. Is that so? Then we'll dock 5,000. He can afford it. I sighed. Ms. Reed would look beautiful in anything. In a wedding dress, she will surely be the most beautiful bride. Chloe burst out laughing. Leo, I didn't know you had such a sweet tongue. You used to be so quiet. I remember Isabelle had to be the one to say I love you first. Her smile turned mocking. And now, for money, you could say such sweet things so easily. I forced a weak smile. You're exaggerating, Ms. Jiang. A man has to do what he has to do to survive. If the price is right, I can say even sweeter things. My words made Isabelle's face turn even darker. She couldn't believe that even my compliments were fake. If you have nothing else to do, she snapped, you can get out. I quickly took the purses and left. She tried on countless dresses, but none of them seemed to be the one. In my eyes, she looked beautiful in all of them. But the thought of her marrying Ethan was a constant, gnawing pain. Could a man with such a twisted heart really make her happy? Could he treat her right? And what about me? What did I give her? I couldn't even afford a decent ring. All I had were useless, empty words. When I was young, I had been so naive, so full of hope. But after everything I had been through, I finally understood. The most basic element of life is just that, to live. I couldn't give her a better life. I couldn't atone for my sins, and I didn't even have time. ####. Just then, my stomach seized with a sudden, sharp pain. It was so intense I could barely breathe. I fumbled in my pocket for a painkiller. I had just put it in my mouth and was about to take a sip of water when I looked up and saw Isabelle standing in front of me, her eyes like ice. What are you taking? I quickly swallowed the pill and the water. I have a cold, I lied. From being out in the rain the other day, I wanted to get back to work as soon as possible. So I came in even though I wasn't fully recovered. Even though I had gotten sick because of her, her expression remained unmoved. As long as you're not dead, you're not allowed to miss work. Even if your legs were broken, you'd have to crawl here. The word dead sent a chill down my spine. It used to feel so distant, but now it felt like a constant companion, a shadow that followed my every move. I never knew when it would finally claim me. Right, I understand. Even if I'm not dead, I'll keep working until the moment I am. She stared at me for a long time. Come here, she said finally. Chloe, want to take a call. I need you to help me decide. I followed her back into the showroom. She went into the dressing room and came out a few minutes later in another dress. After the attendant had finished adjusting it, Isabelle dismissed her and then turned to me. Come here. I walked over to her. Closer. Stand next to me. Her tone was commanding. I did as she said, moving closer until we were both reflected in the large mirror. Look up, she ordered. Look in the mirror. I lifted my eyes. In the reflection, she was breathtaking, radiating a celestial light. I stood beside her in my plain black driver's uniform. For a fleeting moment, I was transported back in time to another bridal shop, another mirror. She had been clinging to my arm, giddy with excitement. Let's get married as soon as we graduate, okay? she had said. Okay, I had replied. But her next words shattered the illusion. What are you thinking about? Her sharp tone pulled me back to the present. I quickly looked away. Nothing. Are you thinking that the person marrying me should have been you? Her question hit too close to home. She had read my mind. I quickly tried to cover. No, you told me to look straight ahead. Her face darkened. She hadn't gotten the reaction she wanted. Seeing this familiar scene, was I really not moved at all? Had I forgotten everything we had shared, or did I simply not want to remember? She stared at me, her heart aching with a familiar mix of grief and confusion. You really don't remember? I knew what she was talking about, but I couldn't admit it. My own heart was breaking. How could I forget the person I loved more than life itself? But even if I remembered, what good would it do? We couldn't go back. We couldn't erase the pain. I forced a smile. Remember what? I don't seem to recall. It was all so long ago. Who can remember things so clearly? My smile was the final straw. She slapped me hard. Her eyes were fierce, filled with a profound disappointment. She couldn't accept what I had become. She couldn't understand, couldn't bear it. The realization that she was the only one trapped in the past, while I had seemingly forgotten everything, was too much. The slap was so unexpected, I didn't even have time to react. I knew it came from a place of anger and pain, but I couldn't show any emotion. I just looked at her and smiled again. Remember what? I really don't remember anything. How could I not remember? We had planned to go look at wedding dresses that day, but I was late. A group of thugs had started harassing her. I had arrived just in time and gotten into a fight with them. I had ended up with a swollen, bruised face. We had still gone to the shop, but I had looked ridiculous. She had gently touched my bruised cheek. Does it hurt? She had asked, her eyes full of concern. I had shaken my head and smiled. No. How can anything hurt when I'm with you? Every day with you is sweet. The fight had left a small, permanent scar on my cheek. Every time she saw it, her heart would ache. Seeing it now, all she felt was rage. You've forgotten, have you? You can't remember. Fine. Good, she spat, turning to leave. But in her haste, she tripped over a stool. My instincts took over. I lunged forward and caught her, my arm wrapping around her waist. She turned her head, and our eyes met. She was in my arms, her gaze locked on mine. Neither of us had expected it. The moment was charged, familiar, and deeply awkward. She searched my eyes for something, and I quickly looked away. Just then, Chloe came back into the room, calling Isabelle's name. I immediately let go. Isabelle slid from my grasp and fell to the floor with a thud. She looked up at me, her eyes blazing with a fresh wave of anger. Chloe rushed over and shoved me away. Leo, what are you doing? Isabelle fell. Why didn't you help her? I was about to. I stammered, but I lost my grip, and then... Chloe waved her hand dismissively. Fine, fine, I get it. Just get out of here. I practically ran out of the shop and back to the car. My heart was pounding, my mind in turmoil. And then Ethan appeared. He looked surprised to see me. Instead of going into the shop, he came over to me. Leo, you just don't give up, do you? Are you really planning to just hang around Isabelle forever? I glanced at him and sneered. What's the matter? You seem scared. I'm just a driver. Why do you feel the need to keep warning me off? His face hardened. Leo, if you didn't have ulterior motives, you could have found a job anywhere. Why here? After everything you did to her, she never would have hired you if you hadn't hounded her. You're just banking on your past relationship, you. I cut him off with a laugh. You're wrong. Isabelle hired me personally. If you have the power to get me fired, I would be grateful. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag. Ethan looked at me, surprised. He didn't know what had transpired between us, only that Isabelle had, for some reason, allowed me back in her life. The idea of getting me away from her was exactly what I wanted. He looked at me with suspicion. Are you sure? I'm sure, I said, but it might be difficult. You see, I owe her $2 million. Or, you could pay off my debt for me. Then I could leave. His expression changed. How do you owe her that much money? Then, understanding seemed to dawn on him. I had gone to our father for money and been rejected, so I had turned to Isabelle. She had lent me the money, but on the condition that I work for her to pay it off. $2 million. It wasn't a small sum. He could afford it, but he didn't want to. He was torn. If he didn't help, I would stay by Isabelle's side. If he did, he would be out $2 million. Why should he pay my debt? While he was hesitating, Isabelle came out of the shop. Ethan, you're here. He immediately went to her and took her hand. To my surprise, she didn't pull away. She even squeezed his hand back. Are you here to pick me up? Yes. I came back early from my trip. I heard you were here. Then let's go. We can take my car and go to dinner. Okay. I'll have my driver take my car back. They got into the back seat. I started the car. From the rearview mirror, I could see Isabelle leaning against Ethan, the two of them chatting. They were talking about the wedding dresses. Isabelle showed him the pictures Chloe had taken, and they looked at them together, commenting and laughing. I could only watch this scene of domestic bliss from a distance. And then I realized Isabelle was looking at me in the mirror. Our eyes met, and a cold smile touched her lips. "Ethan," she said, her voice light, "when we get married, your whole family will be there, right?" "Yes, of course. But I didn't see a certain someone on the guest list. Shouldn't we invite him?" Ethan stiffened, then glanced at me in the mirror. "Who are you talking about? You don't mean my brother, do you?" Isabelle's expression was calm. "He's part of your family, isn't he?" "Yes, but he left the family. And you know about his issues. The wedding will be full of important people. It would be embarrassing for us if you were there." He said it without a hint of shame, knowing I was right there, listening to every word. Isabelle just smiled. "We're not the ones who did anything wrong. He is. If anyone should be embarrassed, it's him." Ethan paused for a long moment. "Okay, whatever you want, Isabelle." Ethan hadn't wanted me at the wedding, but now Isabelle was insisting on it. It seemed she wanted to humiliate me in front of everyone. If that was the case, it meant her hatred for me was as strong as ever. The thought brought a strange sense of satisfaction to Ethan. "Isabelle," he said, changing the subject, "we were supposed to go to that mountain resort. Why don't we go today? We don't have anything planned for tomorrow." She didn't refuse. "All right, we finished early today. Let's go." She turned to me. "Change of plans. Head to the Summit Ridge Lodge." I just grunted in acknowledgement and focused on driving. Whatever they talked about in the back seat, it had nothing to do with me. Their sweet nothings, their talk of love, it was all for my benefit, a performance designed to torture me. I had driven Isabelle many times, and she was always cold, distant, and professional. Maybe I had been wrong. Maybe they really were in love. It was dark by the time we reached the lodge, high up in the mountains. The receptionist at the front desk looked apologetic. "I'm so sorry, but we only have 2 rooms left. For the 3 of you, that might not be enough." Isabelle frowned. "We booked 3 rooms." "I know, and I am so sorry. There was an incident in one of the rooms. The smoke alarm went off by mistake, and the sprinklers flooded the room. It's currently unavailable." "How convenient." I glanced at Ethan. I knew exactly what he was up to. "In that case," I said, "they can have the rooms. I can sleep in the car." The receptionist frowned, looking from me to Isabelle and Ethan. "But they seem to be a couple. Couldn't they share a room? Then you would have one, and you wouldn't have to sleep in the car." It was clear he had been bought. "We'll decide our own sleeping arrangements," I said, glaring at him. "You should respect your guests' wishes." Isabelle had been silent. Ethan, seeing his plan about to backfire, hesitated before speaking. "It wouldn't be comfortable in the car. Maybe Isabelle and I can share a room. I wouldn't feel right making my brother sleep in the car." I scoffed. "Then why don't you sleep in the car?" His face darkened, but he forced a smile. "If my brother insists, then I, as the younger brother, would be happy to sleep in the car." What an actor. But just as he finished his performance, Isabelle spoke, her voice sharp. "Don't you forget your place. You're just the driver." I shrugged. "Fine, I'll sleep in the car." Ethan's face was a thundercloud. His plan to get Isabelle alone, to seal the deal, had been thwarted. But he couldn't show his anger in front of her. He just forced a smile. Then, "Thank you for your trouble, brother." They went upstairs together. As I was about to head back to the car, the hotel manager appeared. "Please have housekeeping prepare the spare room on the 3rd floor," he said to the receptionist. A spare room. I wasn't about to spend the night in a car if I didn't have to. I immediately paid for the room. The receptionist started to protest, but the manager was there, so he had to keep quiet. After a hot shower, I collapsed onto the soft bed. Just as I was drifting off, I got a call from the hospital. The doctor was telling me that my time was running out, that I needed to schedule my surgery as soon as possible. I mumbled a few non-committal answers and hung up. I knew I didn't have much time. The constant pain in my stomach, the blood I sometimes coughed up, they were all reminders that my time was short. But what could I do? I don't know how long I slept, but I was woken up by my phone ringing. I fumbled for it and answered, my voice thick with sleep. "Hello, is this Mr. Vance?" a man's voice asked, sounding urgent. "Yes. What is it?" "Sir, there's been an accident. A woman was in a rear-end collision. I found your number in her recent calls. Can you come to the scene?" I was instantly wide awake. The only person I had called recently was Isabelle. "Where?" I demanded. "I'm on my way." As he described the location, a cold dread washed over me. I quickly described Isabelle to him. "Is that who you're talking about?" He sounded surprised by my detailed description. "Yes, that's her. You should get here as soon as you can." It was her, but she was supposed to be at the lodge, asleep. When did she leave? Why didn't she call me? And where was Ethan? The background noise on the phone was a chaotic mix of sirens and shouting. It sounded bad. "Is it serious?" "Yes, it's very serious." I was already on my feet, pulling on my clothes. Then call an ambulance. Why are you calling me? Save her. If it was a serious accident, she needed medical attention immediately. We're already on it, but you need to come down here. This made no sense. Why do they need me there? I was practically shouting into the phone. What are you waiting for me for? Her life is on the line. Save her first. I'm on my way. The man on the other end paused. The ambulance is here, sir. But Ms. Reed won't go. What do you mean? You said it was serious. Why isn't she in the ambulance? What are you all waiting for? He paused again before explaining. Her condition is critical. She's afraid she won't have time to say what she needs to say. She just wants to see you. Please, just get here as fast as you can. My heart seized. Critical. Afraid she wouldn't have time. I couldn't let my mind go there. I couldn't imagine what state she was in, what the outcome might be. Give me the address. I yelled. I'm on my way. Tell her I'm coming. Tell her to listen to the doctors, to let them help her. Tell her not to be stubborn. From the moment I got the call, a crushing panic had been building in my chest. Why did this have to happen to her? She had already been through so much. The man on the phone assured me they were doing everything they could. I ran out of the lodge and flagged down a taxi. A suffocating tightness squeezed my chest. Serious condition. The words echoed in my head. I was shaking, a primal fear gripping me. I just wanted to be there by her side. I was afraid. Afraid I wouldn't get to see her again. Afraid I would never get to say I was sorry. We had so much left unsaid, so many misunderstandings left to untangle. A profound, overwhelming grief washed over me, and my eyes filled with tears. I'd always thought that death was the ultimate fear, but now I knew that watching the person you love die, helpless to do anything, was so much worse. We always think we have more time. But life is fleeting, and so many things are left as regrets. By the time you're ready to say what you need to say, to do what you need to do, it's too late. Right now, all I wanted was to be with her, to tell her that I had always loved her. That even when she hated me, even when she did things to hurt me, I never stopped loving her. It was too little, too late, but it was the only thing I'd left to give. I stared out the window at the blurry city lights. Would I make it in time? Would we even have another chance? Even if she survived this, I could never be with her. All I wanted was for her to be happy. Please, just let her be okay. The ride felt like an eternity. Every minute was a year. When we finally arrived, the scene was even worse than I had imagined. A multi-car pileup, twisted metal and shattered glass everywhere. People were running around, shouting, trying to help. The air was thick with the smell of gasoline and fear. My heart pounded in my chest. I pushed my way through the crowd, shouting her name. Isabelle! Isabelle! No one answered. The chaos was overwhelming. I tried calling the number that had called me, but it went straight to voicemail. I was starting to panic, grabbing people by the arm, asking, "Have you seen a woman named Isabelle Reed?" No one knew. The more I searched, the more frantic I became. I was a madman in a hospital gown, weaving through the wreckage, my eyes scanning every face, every stretcher. Then I saw it. An ambulance parked at the edge of the scene. The back doors were open, and a team of paramedics was working frantically on someone inside. I couldn't see the person's face, but a cold certainty washed over me. It was her. I ran, shoving people out of my way, not caring about their angry shouts. They probably saw the look on my face and understood. At a scene like this, everyone was a little crazy. I reached the ambulance just as a nurse was about to close the doors. She held up a hand to stop me. "Sir, you can't come in here. We have a patient. We're in the middle of a critical procedure." "I'm family," I yelled, trying to see past her. "I need to see her." She blocked my view, but I could see the blood. So much blood. It was everywhere. My heart stopped. "Please," I begged, my voice cracking. "Let me just see her. I need to be with her." "The patient is in critical condition," she said firmly. "You'll only be in the way. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag." I had no choice but to wait. I stumbled over to a makeshift triage tent and sank to the ground, wrapping my arms around myself against the cold. Time crawled by. I watched the first responders, a blur of motion and urgency. I saw people crying, people hugging, people screaming at the sky. Everyone was lost in their own tragedy, and I was right there with them. The scene was starting to clear out, but there was still no news from the ambulance. I grabbed a passing nurse. "Please, the person in there, how are they?" She looked at me, her expression full of pity, and shook her head. "I'm sorry. We did everything we could." Her words hit me like a physical blow. The world tilted, and I had to grab onto a tent pole to keep from falling. It couldn't be. I hadn't even gotten to talk to her. We had so much to work through. This couldn't be happening. "No," I said, shaking my head, grabbing her arm. "No, that's not possible. If she's not stable, take her to the hospital. You have to keep trying. There has to be hope. You can't just give up. But she just stood there, shaking her head. We really did do everything we could. Her words were a death sentence. A fresh wave of agony washed over me, and my eyes filled with tears. How is this possible? You're lying to me. She couldn't be gone. Not without seeing me one last time. I tightened my grip on the nurse's arm. No, you're wrong. I need to see for myself. She winced in pain and pulled her arm away, but her expression remained sympathetic. I pushed past her and into the ambulance. The paramedics were packing up their equipment. In the middle of the small space was a gurney, a white sheet covering the body. The paramedics exchanged a look and then quietly filed out, leaving me alone. I stared at the gurney, unable to move. I couldn't bring myself to lift the sheet. It wasn't because I was afraid of what I would see. It was because I couldn't accept that it was her. My feet felt like they were made of lead, but I finally managed to walk over to the gurney. I thought I would scream, or cry, or collapse, but I did none of those things. I just stood there, a hollow emptiness in my chest, unable to speak. Finally, I found my voice a rough whisper. You were supposed to go after me. That's what we agreed. Don't you know that the one who's left behind is the one who suffers the most? We had that conversation once, when we were young and in love. She had said that if one of us had to go first, she hoped it would be me. I had laughed and called her silly. No way. I want to live a long life. Besides, if I go first, who will take care of you when you're an old lady? She had just smiled. Later, I read somewhere that the person who truly loves you will always choose to go last, to bear the pain of loss for you. I looked at the still form on the gurney. You promised? I choked out. You promised you'd let me go first. You liar. Get up and tell me why you lied. ####. There was no answer. She was just lying there, quiet, as if she were sleeping. My control finally snapped. My voice was a raw, unrecognizable sound. You said you wanted to know the truth. Why did you leave before I could tell you? I couldn't hold it back any longer. A wave of grief, so powerful it buckled my knees, crashed over me. I sank to the floor, my body racked with sobs. You said you hated me. You said you would make me pay. Get up and do it. Is this all you've got? You were supposed to make my life a living hell, not just run away. My voice trailed off. I have so much to tell you. So many things you don't know. Get up. If you get up, I'll tell you everything. The whole truth. Everything. I had imagined this moment 1,000 times, our final goodbye, but never like this. I was supposed to be the one to die first. Now, this cruel twist of fate had left me with a pain so intense it felt like my heart was being ripped from my chest. I shakily got to my feet, my hand reaching out to touch her one last time. But before my fingers could make contact, the ambulance doors burst open and 3 people rushed in, pushing me aside. They threw themselves onto the gurney, their wails of grief filling the small space. I was stunned. Who were these people? I tried to pull them away. Who are you? You've made a mistake. This isn't your family. One of them turned to me, his face streaked with tears. You're the one who's mistaken. This is our family. Look, he lifted a corner of the sheet. It was a stranger. I stare, my mind reeling. I had been crying over the wrong person. A dizzying wave of relief washed over me. And then my phone rang. It was Evans. Leah, where are you? Get to the hospital. Ms. Reed is hemorrhaging. She has a lot she wants to say to you. The relief vanished, replaced by a fresh wave of terror. I got the address and raced to the hospital. Isabelle was still in surgery. Through the small window in the door, I could see her. Her head was bandaged, her hair matted with blood, her face pale and bruised. Her body was covered by a sheet. Seeing her like that, my heart broke. In that moment, all the anger, all the resentment I had felt toward her evaporated. I sat on a bench in the hallway and waited. 15 hours later, the light above the operating room door finally went out. Isabelle was wheeled out. I rushed forward, but a nurse stopped me. The patient is still unconscious. Please, don't disturb her. I nodded, my heart in my throat. Doctor, is she going to be okay? I was terrified of the answer. She's out of immediate danger, the doctor said, his voice calm and reassuring. But we'll need to keep her under observation for a few days. As the adrenaline started to fade, a new thought began to creep in. Isabelle was with Ethan. How did she end up in a car crash by herself? And she hadn't been drinking. What had happened? A sense of unease settled over me. I told Evans I would stay and then went back to the lodge. I asked the manager to see the security footage from the previous night. He looked uncomfortable and told me that the system had malfunctioned. All the footage from that night was gone. I knew then that something was very wrong. But I was just one person. There was nothing I could do. 5 days later, while I was at the hospital visiting my mother, Evans called. Ms. Reed is awake. ###. I rushed to her room. She was lying in bed, pale and weak. When she saw me, her eyes filled with tears. She tried to speak, but no words came out. She lifted her hand, then let it fall back to the bed. Her lips moved, and I thought I heard my name, a whisper so faint it was barely there. I grabbed her hand. I'm here. What is it? What are you trying to say? She looked at me, her eyes pleading, and tried to speak again. I leaned in close, my ear next to her lips. Her voice was a ragged whisper, the words broken and faint. The truth. What is it? She squeezed my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. She needed to know. After everything, she still needed to know the truth. I straightened up and looked at her. You really want to know? Tears welled in her eyes, and she gave a slight, pained nod. Her lips formed a silent yes. I was silent for a long time. There is no truth, I said finally. It was all just a story I made up. The real reason I left. It wasn't just because your family went bankrupt. It was because the Van Cess threw me out. After they used me, they decided I was worthless and cast me aside. I was too ashamed to tell anyone. She looked at me, confused. This wasn't what she had expected. She didn't believe me. It couldn't be just that. Did I really feel nothing for her? But Evans had told her how I had been in the hallway, completely devastated. That wasn't the reaction of someone who didn't care. The grief, the pain, it couldn't have been faked. You don't react that way unless you truly love someone. She stared at me, her eyes searching for something more. How could I have been so desperate? Is the truth really that important? I asked gently. It was all so long ago. Talking about it now won't change anything. It won't fix what's broken. We have to move on. The past. It's just the past. She hesitated, her gaze wavering. She knew I was right. Knowing the truth wouldn't change the present. But for some people, the past is a ghost that never stops haunting them. For Isabelle, the truth was an obsession. Despite my words, her resolve hardened. Her eyes met mine again, and she whispered one word. Important. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag. I sighed. All right. If the truth is that important to you, then you have to answer a question for me. She looked at me, a flicker of frustration in her eyes. How could I be asking her questions at a time like this? But she managed a weak, two-word reply. You ask, if you know the truth, will you be able to let everything go? Yes. Okay, then I'll tell you. I took a deep breath and began. That year, Robert Vance tricked me into coming home. I gave him one of my kidneys. When I woke up from the surgery, my world had been turned upside down. While I was unconscious, Helen, Ethan's mother, had me sign a stack of documents. When I opened my eyes, I was buried in debt. They threatened me, told me that if I ever tried to come back, they would make me and my mother disappear. I was going to go to the police, but Ethan caught me. He beat me unconscious and threw me into the sea. I almost drowned. A passing fishing boat pulled me out of the water. By the time I made it back a month later, it was too late. Your family was in trouble, and I was powerless to help. When Ethan found out I was still alive, he came to me with a deal. He said if I left Seacrest City and never came back, he would leave my mother and me alone. He even said he would help you get back on your feet. But I had to disappear. Forever. I wanted to refuse, but I knew I couldn't win against them. So I agreed. I just never imagined he would make me end things with you in such a cruel, heartless way. I thought we would never see each other again. I figured it didn't matter if you hated me. I trailed off. When I looked up, Isabelle's face was wet with tears. Why? She whispered. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I didn't answer. What could I have done? I was a dying man. Telling her the truth now wouldn't change anything. It was like the warning I had given my father. Even if he knew the truth now, that Ethan wasn't his biological son, but the product of Helen's affair before she married him, that she had orchestrated everything to get rid of my mother and me. What could he do? If I hadn't been sick, if my mother hadn't been sick, maybe I would have fought them. But now I had no strength left. Isabelle grabbed my hand, her eyes red. Leo. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag. My heart skipped a beat. That familiar name, the way she used to say it, sent a jolt of memory through me. Isabelle, clinging to me, calling me Leo, her voice full of love. But that was a lifetime ago. We can never go back. I pushed down the lump in my throat and changed the subject. What happened to you? Why were you out driving in the middle of the night? Her eyes widened, a new wave of anger replacing the grief. It was Ethan, that bastard. He tried to force himself on me. She told me what had happened that night at the lodge. After they went to their separate rooms, Ethan had knocked on her door late at night, telling her that something had happened to me. She had panicked and opened the door. He had pushed his way in and thrown her on the bed. I'm sorry, baby, he had said, but I can't wait any longer. We're getting engaged anyway. Just let me have you. She had kicked him where it hurt and ran. But he had chased her, and even some of the hotel staff had tried to block her way. She had managed to get to her car and speed away. But as she was driving down the mountain, the brakes failed. When she finished, her voice was shaking with rage. So was him. All of it. That son of a bitch. I gently squeezed her hand. I went back to the lodge. The security footage from that night has been deleted. We have no proof. She looked at me, her face a mask of frustration, but she knew I was right. The room fell silent. After a few minutes, she looked at me, her voice quiet. So, all those things you said, they were all lies, weren't they? I knew what she was talking about. Now that the truth was out, there was no point in denying it. Yes. Her eyes filled with tears again. Why? Why did you do it? I shook my head. It doesn't matter. Before I could finish, the world started to spin. A violent cramp seized my stomach, and I tasted blood in the back of my throat. I have to go. I tried to stand, but Isabelle held onto my hand with all her might. I was afraid of hurting her, so I didn't pull away, but the pressure was too much. A wave of nausea washed over me, and I doubled over, vomiting a mouthful of blood onto the pristine white floor. Then, everything went black. ####. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. In the bed next to me was Isabelle. She looked much better. She was staring at a piece of paper, her expression grim. When she saw I was awake, her face lit up. You're awake. I tried to sit up, but I was too weak to even lift my arm. Evans, who had been standing by the window, rushed over and helped me up, handing me a glass of water. As I was drinking, I heard Isabelle's voice, choked with emotion. How long? My heart sank. I pretended not to understand. How long what? Are you still going to lie to me? She cried, throwing the paper at me. It was my medical report. Why didn't you tell me? Were you just planning to die here by my side, without saying a word? Her eyes were red, her body trembling. I was silent for a long time. Finally, I sighed. What good would it have done to tell you? It would have just caused you more pain. Isn't it better for me to just go quietly? No, she shouted. I won't let you die. Don't you forget, your life is mine now. I just smiled a bitter, sad smile. What's the matter? Weren't you the one who wanted me to die first? Isn't this better for you? She stared at me, her face pale. After a long moment, she whispered, You do remember. I had slipped up, but it didn't matter now. Yes, I remember everything. I remember our past. I remember our promises. I remember our vows. And I looked out the window. And what, Isabelle? Am I supposed to take those memories with me to my grave? Am I supposed to die reminding myself that I'm a liar, a hypocrite, a scoundrel who couldn't keep his promises? She started to cry, shaking her head. No, I won't let you die. I have money. I can get you the best treatment. You bastard. You made me wait for you for 10 years. Made me suffer for 10 years. You don't get to just leave me like this. ####. Isabelle was true to her word. She forced me to undergo treatment, hiring the best specialists, the best nurses. She even hired a full-time aide for my mother and flew in a top surgeon for her operation. I misunderstood you for so long, she told me. I had to make it up to you. The reality of late-stage cancer was worse than I could have imagined. At first, it wasn't so bad. Even when the doctors told me the cancer was spreading, I didn't feel much. It was just an image on a scan. Other than the occasional stomach pain and dizziness, I felt relatively normal. But after just 1 month, my body began to fail. My pain receptors went into overdrive. I lived for the next shot of morphine. Only when the drugs kicked in did I feel like a person again, a person with dignity, with a clear mind. The rest of the time, I was just a collection of nerve endings screaming in agony, drowning in a sea of pain, unable to live, unable to die. I'd always thought, how bad could cancer pain be? Could it be worse than when my incision from the kidney surgery split open? I soon learned that when the pain reaches a certain level, you can't even think straight. One night, the pain was so bad I thought I was going to lose my mind. In a moment of delirium, I whispered, I don't want to live anymore. Isabelle, who was now able to walk again, was sitting by my bed. She heard me and started to cry, her hot tears falling on my chest. She spent a fortune on experimental drugs from overseas, but they only delayed the inevitable. This woman, who had built an empire on technology and innovation, suddenly lost faith in modern medicine. She started visiting temples, praying for a miracle. My hospital room began to fill with strange, mystical objects. In my more lucid moments, I want to tease her, the great CEO, getting into superstitious nonsense. But then I would see her, her head bowed in prayer, her face a mask of desperate hope, and the words would die in my throat. By the time fall arrived, my hair was gone from the chemo, my skin a sickly, pale white. Isabelle rarely left my side. She told me she had found the evidence. The dashcam in her car had recorded Ethan sneaking out that night and tampering with her brakes. He had been trying to kill me, but his plan had gone awry when she had fought back and escaped. The Van Cess are finished, she told me, her voice flat. Before Ethan was sent to prison, I convinced Robert to get a paternity test. Turns out, Ethan wasn't his son. Robert beat Helen half to death and then had a stroke. He's paralyzed now. She paused, looking at me. You don't blame me, do you? Blame her? I smiled and shook my head. I was grateful. She had gotten my revenge for me. But I felt no satisfaction, no joy. I was dying. ####. Isabelle tried to hide it from me, but I knew. One day, when she was out of the room, I asked the doctor about my condition. He was evasive, so I confronted her directly. I don't have much time left, do I? Her eyes filled with tears. It took her a long time to answer. Not necessarily. Some people with late-stage cancer live for decades. I couldn't help but smile. It was a kind lie, and I appreciated the effort. My mother was a different story. I tried to keep the truth from her, telling her I had just had a minor surgery, that I would be fine in a few weeks. But one day, a doctor came in to check on me and let it slip. Your time is probably short. We'll do our best, but a loud crash interrupted him. My mother was on the floor, picking up the pieces of shattered soup bowl. So hot, she muttered as if in a trance. She didn't even seem to notice that she had cut her hand. The doctor rushed to help her up, but she just kept muttering to herself. I'm old now. I can't even do simple things. I'm useless. Then, her voice broke, and she started to cry. What am I going to do? It's all my fault. Son, it's my fault. I'm a burden to you. I don't know where I found the strength, but I threw back the covers and got out of bed, pulling my mother up from the floor. She clung to me, her body racked with sobs. I looked down and saw the shocking white of her hair. When had my mother gotten so old? It's not your fault, Mom, I whispered. It's just my bad luck. Don't cry. From that day on, there was another person in my hospital room. Every morning, my mother would go to the market and buy fresh ingredients to make me soup. The food was a small comfort, a brief respite from the pain of the radiation. Chloe came to visit. The moment she walked in, she slapped herself twice hard. I'm so sorry, Leo. I was wrong about you. I smiled. It's okay. I'm used to it. My words made Isabelle's eyes redden again. She quickly turned away. Chloe was a good person at heart. Everything she had done was out of loyalty to Isabelle. She sat by my bed and chattered on about the old days. When she talked about Ethan, she rolled up her sleeves and swore she would teach him a lesson one day. But as she was leaving, her voice broke. You have to get better, okay? Isabelle is waiting for you. Of course I wanted to. Soon after she left, I started getting messages from old friends, the ones who hadn't turned their backs on me when I was at my lowest. One by one, they reached out, encouraging me, telling me to fight. I, who had always been so calm in the face of death, felt my eyes sting with tears. Suddenly, I didn't want to die. Please, God, just give me one more chance to have a drink with my friends. Please, give me a chance to take care of my mother in her old age. Please, give me a chance to marry her. Please, I really want to live. But my prayers went unanswered. The day the first snow fell in Seacrest City, I knew my time was up. The cancer had spread everywhere. Isabelle had brought in experts from all over the world, but there was nothing they could do. What kind of doctors are you? She screamed at them. I don't care what it takes. You have to save him. I lifted my hand, my voice a weak rasp. Isabelle, let it go. She sent the doctors away and sat by my bed, holding my hand, her eyes full of a heartbreaking mix of grief and anger. You promised, she whispered. You promised you wouldn't leave me. You're a liar. Her voice broke, and she started to cry again. I struggled to lift my hand to her face, to wipe away her tears. Don't cry, my love. You're not as pretty when you cry. In the face of death, all my defenses were gone. I no longer had the strength to be cruel. I wanted to be strong, to tell her that this was a natural part of life. But all I felt was a profound, overwhelming sense of loss. I held her hand, but my grip was weak. I don't think I'll be able to see you in your wedding dress, I murmured. She was crying, shaking her head. Yes, you will. You will. Wait for me. She wiped her tears and ran out of the room. After she left, I called Evans over. I don't think I'm going to make it. I have $50,000 in my bank account. Please, give it to my mother after I'm gone. There's also a letter for her. His eyes were red. He looked like he didn't know what to say. Can you do that for me? He nodded, his voice thick. Of course. I'll take care of it. My mother came in with my dinner, feeding me spoonful by spoonful, chattering on about all the places we would go after I got out of the hospital. I smiled and nodded along. About an hour later, Isabelle returned, out of breath. She pushed open the door, and my eyes widened. She was wearing the wedding dress, the one I had seen her in at the shop. She was holding a bouquet of flowers. Our friends were all there, standing behind her. She walked to my bed, her voice trembling. Leo Vance, will you still marry me? Tears streamed down my face. Why are you doing this? I whispered. I'm dying. I can't. She took my hand. We made a vow. Her eyes, red and swollen, were full of a fierce, unwavering love. Isabelle Reed will marry no one but Leo Vance. I looked at her for a long time, and then I smiled. Okay. Outside, the snow was falling, but the room was filled with the warmth of spring. With our friends and the hospital staff as our witnesses, Isabelle and I were married. Evans, acting as the officiant, read the vows. We exchanged rings. And then Isabelle leaned down and pressed her lips to mine. A tear fell from her eye and landed on my cheek. It was warm. I felt so tired. I just wanted to sleep. To sleep until the end of time, until the long night was over. To sleep until I could no longer hear the beeping of the machines. I could hear Isabelle crying. I wanted to lift my hand to tell her not to cry, but I couldn't.